Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. I'm your host Richard Lewis. This is the Orange Shield. Sam's pressing the buttons. We've been watching the major. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, obviously, as I'm sure you all know, channel is sponsored by Rivalry GG. And I'm going to tell you about a promotion that they're doing. We alluded to it a little bit on an earlier episode, but now we can tell you a bit more about it. They're doing something called Thunderdome, which is a Mad Max reference.
Richard, are they aware that this show already has a fucking problem referencing stuff from the 80s that no one else is actually familiar with?
Well, no,
are they trying to bait us at this point in time?
This is what I mean. I was half expecting part of this promotion to be me wearing the Tina Turner wig and asking if you can shovel shit. But
sad thing is, she looks fucking old even back in that movie, mate.
Yeah, she did. Where is she now? Let me do this first.
Tangent, like,
right. Yeah, I know. We were trying to
say nowadays.
Right.
She's got anything to do with it?
You didn't brief Duncan on this, so it's getting derailed immediately.
Just throwing him straight in.
Right. Anyway, Rivalry .gg are doing this giveaway called Thunderdome. Where basically how it works is it's completely free to enter, and you pick winners from games, kind of like you would do in a pick'em, or kind of like Duncan does with his predictions on the analysis desk. And if you get them right, how many is it you got to get right?
So this week you could guess 7. Yeah, I think if nobody gets 7, then they go down to 6 and split the money up. But I think there's also a way to get it so you can pick 8 teams and you only need to get 7. I think if you refer a friend, you get an extra pick or something like that. So you can get the pick again. Or maybe you get to submit 2 cards. I don't know. Kevin's in the chat. He'll let me know.
Yeah, Kevin can answer any questions. We got Kevin from Rivalry in the chat, so you can add him and answer his questions. But anyway, how it works is they're just going to give you some money. They're going to have $1,000 available if you enter on the 19th and 20th for the New Legend stage of the major, and pick your winners. And if you get the most right, $1,000 free to enter. It's great. And to do it, all you have to do is go to rivalry.gg/TDRLS. And if you want to know more about it, you can type !Thunderdome and Nightbot tell you about it. Now,
Let
also
me get
as well,
one of those ! Thunderdomes in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, also, Sam,
we streamers
I just
now.
can't handle even the fucking codes like TDRL, like the Donald, Richard. Why is that connection had to be made as well? This is a simulation. This whole world. I'm just accepting it at this point in time.
It is 100%.
I'm just showing everyone as well. These were my picks this week, so I got 5 out of 7, which isn't ideal. It's not fucking bad, to be fair.
Yeah, this is how it looks. If you go onto the website, you can see Sam's had some picks. Yeah, 5 out of 7.
It's not bad.
Not bad. I mean, my pick'em was a fucking shit show on Steam. So, I mean, this major's already had some huge upsets, which we're going to get into. But obviously, remember as well, if you're going to use Rivalry.gg services, you can also just go over there in general and sign up and place bets in a safe, ethical environment. Make sure you're 18 plus, and of course, please bet responsibly. Right then, Duncan. Let's talk about the major so far. I mean, because you haven't been on the No Majors Club. You've left me high and dry. Well, I've been sat there at 4 a.m. fucking alone in the dark. It's raining here in Vegas.
Because the problem is, the shit lasts 3 weeks now. So I can't shake 3 weeks off work.
Sam, bring up the tweet where Duncan said, I want a 3-week major. It's the ultimate format. Bring it up.
Yeah, I want a 3-week major where I get paid a day rate for each of those 3 weeks. that makes perfect sense. Yes. No, but that's the problem. Is like I already felt that way about the old majors. Like the group stage was the least interesting part of it. You know, you gradually work your way into it. So the problem with this one is like I don't mind the first week, but it doesn't hook me the same way. I can't. Like, I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you right now the difference between when you get hired to work at an event and you're going to be paid a lot of money and you're looking forward to that, and when you're just going to watch the event at home and you can take it or leave it. Here's the difference, right? It's in the tweet that Sponge did the night before the major began, where he goes like, "Oh, it feels like Christmas. The major's coming tomorrow." And I just thought, if it wasn't for the fact I didn't just want to fucking rain on everyone's parade right before the major begins like a cunt, I was going to be like, not really like Christmas though, is it? Like the playoffs are like Christmas, man. This is like when you get to open one calendar door and eat a single chocolate and pretend you're satisfied with that. So anyway, good major.
Yeah, good major so far. Yeah, been brilliant. Look, well, there's plenty to talk about. While you were just talking there, we actually had a visit from a very big, important, high-profile player decided to come into the chat. So Dick Stacey, you may remember, he's the guy who tried to smuggle it. I
can't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that, right? Wasn't it? In the chat, it's giving me the message. What was it? Hang on, let me just read it, so I don't misquote him. It was, "Hey Richard, fuck you, pussy." So still operating on
to be fair, that
cerebral level.
That is the sort of thinking that dicks usually have. So why is he talking shit?
Well, no, he also had an AK that was called Richard Lewis is a pussy or something, right? Like, so he's a little bit triggered, I think. Remember, the central premise was that because I thought it was a little bit immature to be trying to sneak a penis as your signature into the game, the central premise was I was triggered and mad as hell about it. This guy, obviously deeply upset. Well, listen, I've got a message for Dick Stacey and Greyhound, and we were going to talk about them over the course of the show anyway. I think it's great that your 15 minutes of fame is up. Hope you enjoyed getting banged out 0-3 at this fucking major.
By the way, I'll just point this out, video proof there as well. I did pick you to go 0-3. Well done. You are predictably shit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the only safe bets. So, I think exactly. It's major. So I hope you've enjoyed the fact that your 15 minutes is up. Also, now that the Chinese are showing up, the way that you fucking backdoor your way into majors by going through the Asian qualifiers, forget about that. So take your little shit semi-pro team with your little shit semi-pro scene and your fucking Hawaiian shirts and your attempt to have fucking status and your little dick signatures. It's all over, mate. You had your 15 minutes. 1 year from now, no one's going to know who the fuck you are. Meanwhile, I'll still be making that cheddar. So you can call me a fucking pussy. Your career's a fucking joke, son. And you know it every time you look in the mirror. But hey, draw some dicks on it with your mummy's lipstick, you fucking loser. Right, that's the Greyhound segment over. What a pathetic little cunt.
That also
what a pathetic little cunt.
I didn't realise that as well, because you know that obviously, they got mad triggered about you saying he was a semi-pro player. It's like, well, you know what? That's what happens. Maybe what fucking Dick Stacey needs is to get a fucking coach called Viagra or something, because his problem was he only got a semi at the major, couldn't get it up fully, could he? And next thing you know, he's down and out, and it's just a one-night stand. Pretty much, that doesn't even make sense, but whatever. Just pretend that part made sense. Whatever, dirty weekend.
Thought my burns were stronger there, don't you? But appreciate you having my back on that one, right? So anyway, sometimes semi-pros just get mad, don't they? So let's start talking about the games. I mean, I feel like because I've watched all the ones I was available to. I think that a good starting point is to talk about the format, right? Sure. Because this time in the Challenger stage, ESL are doing this thing where they're running the games, at the same time.
Simultaneously,
Yeah, simultaneously. So you got to pick and choose, right? And it's just been like a little bit, I'll be honest, I haven't liked that. For any other tournament, I'm really okay with it. In fact, I've advocated for that before because it's easier on talent, it's easier on players. Sure. And it's very disingenuous a lot of the time to try and force everybody to watch one stream at one time so you can have your numbers inflated when in fact those people might not give a fuck about this game in the middle, but they hang around and lurk to get to the games they do care about. But I think for the major, I think either the Challenger stage is part of the major or it isn't. And if it is, then you should treat all of the games in that kind of sacred, everybody needs to see the story of how the major unfolds. I think having to pick and choose, if you're a fan, is pretty lame, honestly. So I wanted to get your thoughts about that. I mean, I know you've often said that to you, this stage of the major really isn't the major in earnest yet, right?
Like, let's be real. This is the problem. Like, I can sort of see the logic of why they want this to be part of the major. Because here's the thing: since they'd run the minors for so long. And to be fair, over time, the minors have gradually, we've seen proper talent come through. Like, obviously, a story we'll talk about on this one is there doesn't have to be a Renegades in the Asian minor anymore. They're actually fucking through it in theory. I mean, I guess they could go 0-3 in the next stage or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, roughly, in theory, we're moving on. And actually, we are developing these regions. So one day, it's not going to be today or next major, but maybe in 2 years, this stage of the major will be fire. Like, even the teams here will be so unreal. But in reality, this is just still the major qualifier. Like, you look at the quality of the teams, it's the same shit. There's a couple of good teams. mainly a couple of middling teams, and then there's a whole bunch of bad teams. You have no idea which ones are going to do well, but inevitably when you have like 7 bad teams, one of them is going to score an upset, a couple of them are going to do some crazy shit. So to me, yeah, this doesn't feel like the major, because for me the major is about like greatness, like amazing matches. You're not going to remember many of the matches in this one. If anything, you're only going to remember the crazy upsets, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few of those.
On the format, though, like one thing I don't want to say on that one is,
yeah, sure.
Like I also think that's why the format is a little bit shaky at the moment. Like I actually think the format is better overall, but again, if you think of it as like a stopgap measure, that's where I think the benefit of it will come. Because here's the thing: at the moment, it's like a give or take scenario. So either you watch every game, in which case the obvious con is, well, what if the next 2 games are really shit games, and now I'm just waiting 3 hours and coming back and going, when am I going to get the fucking good game? Or, like you're saying, you have it simultaneous, in which case you're inevitably going to run into at least 1 or 2 games where it's like, right, well, I want to watch both of those. So there's a con to that. Now, the reason why I say it, like, I think overall it's a positive and a stopgap measure is because my hope is it's the same concept as Dota. And the reason why in Dota you have to run the games simultaneously is they have like best of 3s for all the games. So my hope is that, as you see with some of the complaints here, and as you see that the best of 3 parts worked dynamite so far, if we keep going forwards and hopefully one day this just becomes all best of 3s, well, you have to have simultaneous anyway at that point in time. So, like, if we're going to go, because if you've noticed, I've noticed that with Valve, you've got to take the same approach to Riot. It doesn't matter what you ideally or even pragmatically think the best system would be. You have to think to yourself, they're not going to change it completely. And they're definitely not going to do a massive 180. So you have to like talk them through the steps of going, like, it's like turning a steamboat. You got to do it slowly, and just know that as long as it's gradually happening, you're going somewhere. And you've seen that with the format changes over the years. So overall, I think it's a positive.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll probably be a bit more triggered next stage, but that way if there's like 2 really good games at the same time.
Well, I don't think they're doing it for the next stage.
Oh, right, it's not the next one.
Yeah, I certainly hope they're not.
No, I think they are, because think about it. The next week is the same amount of days as far as I know, and so they must do it if it's best of 3s again.
I know the next 2 days are definitely 1 game at a time, because it's 3 best.
That's because it's best of 3s, but as far as I know, unless I'm mistaken, as far as I know, that's the whole point, is that the first 2 rounds of each of the Swiss systems, I think, do that format to get the games done. I think I could be wrong on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be mad triggering, and certainly not anything I would want to see happen in a major. It's like you can maybe forgive it a little bit at this stage, because chances are there are going to be some games that you can forgive yourself for not watching, but I think once you get to the major in earnest, every team has earned their spot there and earned a little bit of shine in the spotlight. And I want every component of what is the World Championships of Counter-Strike to be laid out in the narrative that unfolds on the broadcast.
Yeah, actually, I've just looked, and based on the Liquipedia, it's the exact same number of days for the next stage. So logically, this is the same format. I assume it must be. Yeah. Must be simultaneous again for the first 2 rounds at least.
Oh, that sucks. Right. Well, we'll cross that bit. We'll cross that bridge when we come with next week, I guess. But then, of course, there was the other thing that happened. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be going, "Ha! You watch Duncan and Richard won't go in on ESL for the day 1 delays. They torched Face It, right? Like day 1 was a bit of a shit show."
By the way, I'll just go ahead and say, am I wrong on this as well? Didn't I literally say about Face It, a company who literally had fucked me up my ass repeatedly, that it wasn't even their fault when there were delays? Didn't I literally say that wasn't their fault?
Well, yeah, sure.
Pretty sure I did. But as usual, Richard, the people who claim to watch all our content and know every crime that we've done can't even get what we said right.
Oh, no, never.
Just have a lie.
But well, the other thing is, of course, obviously that we're ESL shills. Is the other thing, because we're desperate for the work, even though
I mean, all those IEM events they invite me to, I told them, listen, if I'm going to sell out completely, you better give me a whole 2 events a year, because that's worth every single thing I've built. I've only based my entire career off integrity in that, but I'd sold it out for 2 events a year. Thing is, I just had to get to Cologne and have one of those shit fucking Wiener Schnitzels. It just meant too much to me.
So
I don't know why I get so triggered by Wiener Schnitzel. It's because I just get so triggered by the fact that they kept telling me it was so good, and then I got it, and it was like a massive chicken nugget. I was like, what is this shit? What is this? I wouldn't take you to my fucking neck of the woods and then just go, all right, you're not going to believe this food. It's fucking unreal. It is chips and gravy. We'll just name it some other shit, you know.
And then you go to Canada and they literally do that with poutine.
Well, yeah, the irony is I fucked that up. You know, that's actually considered like a delicacy. Except even worse. They go, do you want some chips and gravy? You go, yeah, sure. They go, there you go. There's a bunch of fucking rotting cheese on it. You go, wow, I don't want that. What the fuck have you done? If I want cheese, I'll eat it before it started going shit.
Anyway,
another digression.
So, yeah, of course. Back to Tina Turner, right? But yeah, so here's what I'll say. I mean, the first day it was pretty bad. But anybody who thinks what's happened so far in Katowice is in any way comparable to what was going on in London is out of their motherfucking minds. I mean, we're still not sure what caused it. There's been some illusions, I don't know if it's true or not, about maybe there was some sort of DDoSing activity that went on due to an exploited vulnerability through the HLTV scorebots. That's sort of reading between the lines what people have intimated to me, that people were able to get IPs, and it's all been fixed now. I have no idea. Also, as well, I mean, you know, ESL pushed all their chips into the fucking middle of the table and pretty much said, oh, it's Valve. It's Valve's fault that we're delayed at the start of the tournament based on their most recent patch and update. And as usual, I think because it's an event in Katowice, Carmack's been a little bit... you know, what's the word?
Unduly optimistic.
Precocious, I guess, would be a way of saying it. He's been very vocal on Twitter and Reddit about how the things that have been going on, you know, like, for example, HLTV said, the scorebots aren't working, we're looking for a solution. He addressed that in the Reddit thread going, actually, it's us who are looking for the solution, which sort of seems a bit like... yeah, I mean, you know, on the one hand, I can certainly believe... certain elements of HLTV being cuntish about it. On the other hand, I can also believe that maybe all parties looking for a solution, and it's a bit of a tetchy, weird thing to react to. But
what a weird thing. That for some reason, yeah. Like I can't handle it because like that just reminds me of there's a famous episode, right, of Seinfeld where because the character of George Costanza is like a really petty individual, he's very cheap with money, right? Yeah. Don't know why I'd relate to him or find him a brilliant character. But anyway, that's by the by.
In many ways, the protagonist of the series, wasn't he, Duncan? Yeah.
So what's mad is, right, there's a whole episode where the premise is that he actually like gets Elaine a salad from this corner shop that they go to, right? And then the problem is it's his girlfriend that gives Elaine the salad. So she says like, oh, thanks to George's girlfriend. And then he literally just stews on this the whole time because he's like, I'm the one who paid for that salad. Should be thanking me. And it's like, fucking, is this a big deal? It's like, that's like what Carmack's doing. It's like, it's okay, guys, we're searching for a solution. I'm searching for a solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I am. Yeah. So
also, how far are they going to take this policy as well? Like, if you're going to have transparency like that, okay, what's the next step? Like, oh, problems there. Yep, that was us. We fucked up. That's all us. It's all on. You're never going to do that, are you? So what's the point?
Yeah, so it was a strange one, and as I said, if at the start of the tournament you put it all on Valve, you know, you better be careful around any more fuck ups, because then obviously they have to be laying at your doorstep because anything that comes after it, well, it can't still be Valve, right? I mean, that was the first problem. Yes. So they did this, you know, the streams were going down intermittently on the first day, and there was about a 2-hour delay, I want to say. I had to go away a little bit during the stream. Sam took over it. And you said there were a few more delays and instances where the main stream went down, right?
Yeah, TVs and all the servers went down over and over again. I think it was like a 2.5-hour delay, 2-hour delay. So in between games. Again,
to me, it suggests that sure, if the GoTV goes down, you can lay the blame on Valve. But if your stream goes down, that suggests to me, you know, more issues. And of course, during the minor, we had that like power outage as well, you know, over at that neck of the woods, which should, again, completely beyond ESL's control, but worth noting. So, you know, I'm not going to go in on them because today went flawlessly. No delays. All the games ran on time. The broadcast ran on time. That's day 2, and they had a flawless day 2. So again, you can see immediately how even trying to compare this to the
entire first stage, everyone remembers for Face It.
Yeah, exactly. With Face It, the problems went on and on and on, and not just during that first stage, but also the build up. where people weren't certain about whether they were working or not, certain talent hires, getting wrecked on rates. I mean, there was a lot of stuff around it. So not even comparable. Yeah, it was a day one to forget. But there was a lot of, again, classic knee-jerk shit on Reddit, like saying, oh, this is the fucking, yeah, this is as bad as iBuyPower. Like, fucking grow up, man.
Reasonable.
Like, you goldfish-memoried motherfuckers, you know? So, credit to what they did today and how quickly they turned things around. And honestly, that's pretty much the ESL machine right now. Like, ESL still make the classic esport fuck-ups, but they're probably the best at fixing those fuck-ups on the fly and getting to a polished product in a quick space of time. So it's not that they're flawless. It's just that they're really good at course correction, which is pretty much the problem Faceit had. And then, unlimited eggs as a statement, of course.
I also think, by the way, that an interesting detail to notice is when people don't say something. So think of every other event, including iBuyPower Masters, including Faceit Major, who are, as well as the fans who are obviously understandably disappointed if the game isn't going on. You always see pro players tweeting about it, right? Where all the pro players complain about this major. That suggests, by the way, guys, this is the logical conclusion, that behind the scenes, whoever's telling them, here's what we're doing about the problem, here's what the problem is actually probably doing a better job of explaining it. Like, usually when players tweet like that, unless it's a weird scenario where they're just biased against the tournament organizer, which has happened, in the past, I would say usually that means that, the tournament organizer's done a bad job of even dealing with the player. Like, they're just telling him every 5 minutes, yeah, get ready, the game's going, just mismanaging that will get the players on your back. So actually, the fact that no players seem to have been that bothered by it at the moment seems a somewhat positive sign. Like, it sounds like they've, within the context, got things fairly nailed down.
Well, I mean, obviously as well, let's also remember that I think ESL get a lot of good graces from players, and you'll very often see players seemingly unprompted, tweet about how well ESL look after them and stuff like this. Yes. So I think that's another component, right? That at the end of the day, everybody went in on Faceit, the players, because I don't think there was that same level of care and attention there as there has been from ESL at prior events. Exactly. Yeah. And whether or not that's fair, separate debate, separate discussion, but it is a reality all the same. That, I'm sure ESL, at the end of the day, if you're a player and you're being took care of and you've had a bit of a shit first day, because of a 2-hour delay or whatever, you probably let that slide when you get back to your fucking swanky hotel after being dropped off by your fucking chauffeur to find a fucking fruit basket and loads of fucking swag and goodie bags and, all of this other shit waiting for you. So, certainly you never heard anyone criticize E-League. They had a very similar approach. We treated all the players like fucking, rock stars. And, that way, when there were problems, because E-League certainly we weren't flawless when I was working there. But you would never hear the players criticize us because it was like we built up that credibility.
The sad thing about that as well is, Rich, when you realize how little it actually takes in the context of real world business and money, when you realize how little it takes to completely buy a player's undying loyalty, you just completely lose all faith in the political system within moments, basically.
Oh yeah, sure.
We haven't even offered this cut stock options 10 years down the line for millions or anything. He's already going to run through a wall for us. Fucking hell.
Right, so let's get to the games, the good bit. I'm going to just pick out names of teams for this because there was a lot going on. Obviously, I streamed all the games I could. That still means I've only seen 50% of the games. So I want to see if there's any overlap, or maybe you saw some games I didn't, or watched some games I didn't. But I want to start with talking about, I think, Fnatic, who rapidly emerging as the big story here. So
I noticed a number of people, I would say most of the people I saw doing their pick'ems had Fnatic as their 3-0 team, mate. A lot of people
had them as 3-0. And if you remember, actually, 2 episodes back by the numbers when we were talking about looking ahead to the major, and we were talking about if there was one team that could go 3-0 and 0-3, it'd probably be Fnatic, that exists in that weird slippery twilight. And what we got is probably the worst version of Fnatic I think I've seen in the CSGO era. I mean, no joke. When you even the fucking team back in the day with Devilwalk was a much more cohesive unit than this, and sure, comparatively for the time, no doubt, but this is flat out embarrassing. I mean, they start the tournament losing to Vici. They follow that up losing to Winstrike. It wasn't exactly comprehensive. They went 0-2 and had to play the erstwhile Greyhound, home of the great Dick Stacey et al. They had a 16-9 and a 16-11, and it looked shaky at times, and it was a very puggy style game. It wasn't clear fluid Counter-Strike. Now, there's lots of factors about what's wrong with Fnatic.
Oh, and remember, here's a detail to add as well, Rich. Don't forget, because another detail of this major was, first of all, pair-based seeding for round one, meaning that people like Fnatic got very good seeds. In fact, I think they got maybe the best seed. And then for each round, there was an ELO system. So that meant that even when Fnatic gets to that third game, that's why they get Greyhound. They actually get, in theory, the easiest of the opponents in that round, because obviously no one else there was like a highly seeded team in that round. So that means actually to even be at that position, they've put even more underperformed, because that means in round two they got the easiest matchup as well. Yeah. So they've actually totally fucked us up. And as you say, it's not even like they crushed Greyhound.
Oh no. So let's get back to one of our favorite recurring topics. And finally, I think the penny is dropped with the fucking community that you and me didn't make this up. It's not a fucking myth. It's a very real thing. And we even had players on the No Majors Club today saying, why does he do that? And it's exists vetoing. This now, it can only be laid at his doorstep. I know he has said that, when I'm in teams, we all do the vetoes together. The vetoing here is insane. It has been insanely bad. Let's talk about Vici. You're playing a Chinese team. Let me tell you about two maps the Chinese teams love. It's Inferno primarily, and then as a secondary one, Overpass. So in Fnatic's first game against Vici, a team many people had 0-3, you get Nuke out of there, you get Inferno out of there. Although again, I don't know why you'd feel compelled to remove Nuke. The Chinese don't play it, but whatever.
Especially not first, for fuck's sake. Do it. There's a last ban or something. Make them ban it.
So he was left with the option of Train or Overpass.
By the way, I can just tell you as well, Richard, I've actually watched a lot of Chinese Counter-Strike by there, compared to most fans I'm talking about, not obviously like Blair or someone. And by the way, I don't think I've ever seen a Chinese team who was actually good on Train. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there.
No, again, two maps you will not see the Chinese play. Nuke and fucking Train. They love Inferno. Remember, Vici beat North in the minor sort of last chance qualifier. 22-20 on Inferno. So they love Inferno. And the next map they play is Overpass. And they've had like some unbelievably close games. At that same tournament, they narrowly lost to Winstrike 16-14. I think they gave up both pistols in that. And if you go through all of their best of ones and what they play, you're going to see a lot of Overpass in there. You're going to see some Mirage as well, sure. But you will not find Train. They don't play Train. So surely you, as an established European team going up against the Chinese team, you move them on to Train. You don't take a map that they're happy to play, but Exist did it. So this wasn't an example of him vetoing on their best map. Vetoing to their best map, rather. This was just an example of him he's got a choice of two very clear and obvious distinct things to choose. Didn't choose correctly. Then you come to the Winstrike game, which they lost 16-11. Let's talk about the veto there. Nuke goes out for Fnatic. Just 2 goes out. Winstrike respond by getting rid of Inferno, getting rid of Mirage, getting rid of Overpass. So Fnatic have a choice between Cash and Train. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Winstrike. Their best map, hands down, not even fucking close to any other map, is Train. Yeah. They have a 71% fucking win rate on it in the last 3 months.
Oh, and by the way, Fnatic banned DOS 2, which is their worst map, considering they don't play Inferno.
Right.
So, logically, you even could have made them go on. You could have made them ban Train.
Yeah. And so it is insane to me. In fact, no, sorry, I've even got it wrong. I'm not doing it enough justice. 77% win rate on Train in the last 3 months. And this, in what you decide to do here is, and I think it's like they've played it like 7 times in like the past, like out of their last 20 games or something. It's a go-to. It's their home map. They're not that far behind on cash, but I do believe that the mighty Exist once said, "Don't pick cash against me, motherfucker." So where's your fucking nutsack when it comes to this veto? Well, it's crazy. I mean, it's got to the stage where even I'm a pet. The fucking camera hugging fucking world's greatest coach, actually turned around and said the reason we had these upsets, the reason Winstrike and Vici and guys like this were able to get wins is because the map picks against them were fucking terrible. So imagine that, right? Like, the mild-mannered I'm a pet fucking calling you out now. Like, me and Duncan have been banging on about how bad Exist's vetoes are for 2 years. It's like the fucker doesn't, you just go on HLTV like I just did there, and you can see what maps teams are playing, and you can see what maps they're winning on. It's not hard. It's not hard to do the homework. So I do not fucking get this at all. And then I say that they stay in the tournament by beating Greyhound. If I said to Fnatic here, right, you will play... you will, in your first 2 games, you will play Vici and Winstrike. Can you imagine in the camp they'd have been rubbing their fucking hands, their hands, and yet what they've done is they've made it incredibly hard on themselves. Now we'll talk a little bit about Exist. I'll bring you in at that juncture, but obviously it's not just about him. In fact, statistically, he didn't do that bad in terms of production and what he did, on the server. They're playing terrible to boot. I mean, all the players on this team, apart from Crims, are underperforming.
I think Brawlan had some good games.
Brawlan had some good games. And I won't sit the booting in him.
Year 16,
Yeah, I won't sit the booting in him.
JW was fucking shit, I'll tell you that. Like, who was that player you gave the analogy about who signed for Newcastle after he scored 1 good goal?
Oh, well, when he signed that massive contract, Czech Tiote. I mean, Czech Tiote was good, actually.
But JW's fucking done it, because the second they've given him the 3-year contract, he's like, right, well, time to just fucking get this money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing. Is Crims, he's lost his fucking mind, mate. He is banged his head one too many times on his desk, and he's fucked himself. Because if there isn't an escape clause in that fucking 3-year contract he signed, he's wrecked his career. He's ruined his career. Because this team is going fucking nowhere because you've got an in-game leader that can't even fucking veto properly the basic fundamentals to set you up for success. Literally, the fucking bedrock of any successful team is know your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. That's it. That's all you have to know, right? Like, just go in and be able to pick your best maps and maybe take away some of their strongest maps. That's it, right? You can't do that. One of your other supposed star players who's just signed for 3 years, I get that he's synonymous with the brand. I get that he's got great pedigree. He's been terrible for a long, long time. And is continuing that form here. You got a young player who's probably wondering, what the fuck have I got myself into? Because the only person around that can actually teach me anything is fucking Crims. Like, this is, like I say, this is as bad as I can remember Fnatic, so you can stick the boot in now. It's your turn.
I mean, yeah, first of all, what you alluded to there is the most bizarre part. The idea that, like, Crims and JW, Crims was like, we're a package deal. It's like, why are you doing that, though? You're in your fucking prime, mate. It's never been better. It's like, my joke for that would be that when Crims is negotiating his contract, he goes to Fnatic, well, listen, I don't want to be a diva or anything, but there's got to be a clause in my contract about, whether JW gets to play on the team or not, if I'm going to be able to sign for many years. And they go, yeah, no problem, we'll take care of that. And then he sees the news come out like, JW and Crims have physically... The clause was that he couldn't fucking play. Why? What? You haven't thought it through, have you? Fucking hell. They were on that Fnatic gear, weren't they? So anyway, whatever. I just decided to throw that one in there. No, the thing is this. As usual, Richard, because I think these things through, I try to think of all the angles when people tell me that. So since, as you say, when we've noticed this trend, and it's a ridiculous trend how often it's repeated through Exist teams, it doesn't matter what players change, the trend just continues, except as far as I can tell, when fucking Threat was the coach, and Threat actually, I believe, took part in the veto. Yeah. So unsurprisingly, there's even sort of like a logical reason as to why it stopped for a while. So when this has gone on for years and years, the same thing's always happened. It's what I call the bullshit pro player get out, which is... What it does is you do this. Someone observes a provable problem in your team and you just go, but but because you're not in my team and you don't know exactly why that's happening, the problem doesn't exist. And it's like, well, that doesn't work anymore, does it? Like, the whole, I've always said this, like a good example, right, would be in like League of Legends, right? So in League of Legends, if I ever criticized TSM and any of their players, they would go, yeah, but Thorin, you don't know the shot call in their team. And besides, actually this player was doing well. I go, it doesn't change the fact you lost the game though, does it? It doesn't change the fact that the point in the game that I told you there was a mistake, there was a mistake. Whether someone else did it, that's interesting info. Yeah, give me it if you can. But you definitely can't claim that the thing never happened. Like that, those two things don't follow. The fact that I don't know why it happened doesn't mean it didn't happen. So the reason I bring this up is, okay, there's a choice for all you players out there. If you're in Fnatic or if you're in an IP, here's the choice I'm going to give you. One-time only deal. The deal goes like this. I will accept that Exist doesn't do any of these vetoes. In exchange, all of you are fucking shit at vetoes, cretins, and you have actively self-sabotaged your orgs for years in Counter-Strike. Do you accept the deal? One-time only deal, much like signing with Fnatic for 3 more years if you're JW. I don't think that contract will be getting renegotiated 3 years from now. Well, maybe they will, because at that point they'll be probably playing in some fucking development league or something, won't they? No, and the other part with this is, like, yeah, you're right. The worst thing about the team is that, like, I'd understand if everyone's stats across the board were terrible, but, like, Crims has just been absolutely exactly what he was before. Very good player. Yeah. Brolan's actually performed very well for his first ever major when the guy... I don't even know if he's 17 yet. The guy's unreal for how young he is and how good he is. But the idea that, like, the rest of them are just shit in the bed and you're picking the worst maps, and then on top of that, even if you fuck up the vetoes, Rich, it's still not acceptable to lose to these teams.
Oh, mate, I tell you, like...
It's everything combined. It's a perfect storm, isn't it?
But again, just the idea as well, like, and this is why I can't give them any fucking credence. Like, I really like JW as a guy. Like, really like him. He's a super cool guy.
He's wicked.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to watch this. And
mate, I wish JW had... I wish Crimson JW's skill sets were reversed. And that way I could even big him up like, oh, what a great ambassador for the game. Like,
because he is... He is a great ambassador for the game, and he is a cool guy. And when he gets things wrong, he always admits it. Look at that bullshit fucking taco drama we had where, he extended the handshake and apologized, but equally didn't back down, held his corner. JW is a cool fucking dude, but he ain't been good since 2017.
Speaking of which, later in the episode, can we just carve out some time to talk about that drama? Because there was some good shit in there. I'll do it for you. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I thought you might want to. But like... the fact that JW didn't respect Golden enough, and yet you're telling me he respects Exist as an in-game leader. Like, I'm sorry, man. This is like some questionable shit. This is like watching one of your mates be in a bad relationship, and you're like, really? Really?
Oh, that's a good analogy if you think about it. Because obviously the problem is, when you meet the person, it doesn't affect you. You see them as an arsehole. But the idea is, the person who's with them is so deep into them that as a result, they're like almost under their spell, aren't they? They've got this mad Stockholm syndrome going. What's mad? Well, I mean, ironic there. And that's it. I think this was the only one who didn't come from Stockholm, actually, ironically. I think it was the rest of them all in an IP who did. So, but the bizarre thing is, it's been the same in every team he's been in. For some reason, like, I have to imagine it's something to do with, like, because here's the thing, I know as a captain, he's not a guy who's like the guy who gives the great speech or anything. He's not a charismatic guy in that sense. But bizarrely, my observation has been, because he's like the guy who's more like the stoic captain, he's like the guy who doesn't seem to like get right. Because, by the way, one of his strengths I've always given him credit for, he's always been pretty good under pressure, actually. If you put Exist
he never gets ruffled.
He doesn't shit the bed, actually. He might earn another tournament. He's not that great a player, but he's one of those guys where you got to give him credit. He does perform in the playoffs. So for me, it's almost like people just respect that angle, and then obviously he has won a lot in his career, and that automatically will skew people's mind. But it's the idea that the last couple of years it still holds sway. That's so bizarre to me. Because obviously they understood. Like, remember, they had no problem shipping Pronax out when it wasn't working anymore. So they don't hold him in. The Swedish team doesn't hold Pronax on some pedestal anymore. So why Exist still does, I mean, it's beyond me really at this point in time. He's an okay leader, but yeah, I never understood the gamble of taking him at this point in time. I'd rather even go with someone fresh, Like, here's the bad thing, Richard. I wouldn't mind him being a player on Fnatic. Just have him be like a supporter. Yeah. That's okay. But as the in-game leader, like, come on, man. Isn't this what everyone said would happen when he joined the fucking team like a year ago? What did you expect?
But it's like you go from winning trophies with one guy, he's out the team. You bring in another guy that, like, you've clearly gone backwards, like massively on this guy's watch. And it's like, seriously, like, if they don't make a change, like, I don't even care how this major fucking, they better win it, right? Like, because otherwise, which isn't going to happen, because, I mean, they look god awful. But yeah, it's just a fucking weird one for me. And, I want to remind people that, Hampus is this other, young and upcoming sort of in-game leader that played in the same team with Brolan in Red Reserve. And they could have had both of them at the same time, a new in-game leader, new ideas. Maybe there's something about Golden we don't know. Maybe his health problems that he's having now were an issue and a factor, and that's why they decided, even though, to remove
that
him.
Does seem a little bit suspect when you look at it now, doesn't it? Because I have to say, this is just a side topic briefly, but the whole thing with Golden and Cloud9, in terms of what you guys are told publicly only, because I don't claim to know actually any private information on that. I've never inquired about it. But if you just look at the outside story, it fucking stinks. The idea that a guy has some undisclosed health issue that somehow is only initially going to keep him out of this tournament and then this tournament. And then all of a sudden, like, how fucking long's it been now? Like, what, 5 months or something? It's been a while now. Like, this reminds me of the whole, I mean, it was a very different circumstance, the whole Olaf Meister scenario where he also was gone for literally an indeterminate amount of time. And even when they, as far as I know on that one, were asking privately, he himself was telling them, I have no idea when I'm coming back. It's like, what is this? You can't just be in some mad fucking no man's land where we're just waiting in purgatory for you to decide to come or go. Like, there's something dodgy about that thing. But anyway, that's just a side. Because I agree with you. I actually also have the suspicion, by the way, and Moses brought this point up, which is a bit suspicious in itself, that I think this Cloud9 lineup, this isn't only for the major. I think you will see this Cloud9 lineup at the next tournament as well and going on.
Yeah, quite possibly. And like I say, I think, I don't know. It just seems to me that it was just a move, like it was a relic of the past. And I don't understand where the Swedish scene's always been a bit strange like that, always a little bit cliquey. I mean, that goes all the way back to the start of it. But
by the way, to the extent even that they will actually, and the only other scene I can compare it to in this sense is actually the French scene, because what they both share the same quality in is that they're cliquey to the extent that you'll even kick a good player because people in his team don't like his personality. That's incredibly rare for any other scene. Like, you kick them when they're shit and you don't like them. Yeah, obviously.
Well, it's happened to a lesser degree in other Swedish teams, like, NIP. Of course, they win that fucking Star Series with Makelele. Like, yeah, get out though, because his personality's a bit mental, like, or whatever. Like, out you go. So very, very strange. Like, they don't. I'll say this about the Swedes. There is this weird sort of. They talk a lot about wanting to win, but actually, there's a very sort of arrogant.
They want to win in a comfortable way for them, mate. Like, they would put it this way: if there was a simple in the Swedish, I'm talking about old simple. If there was a simple in the Swedish, he would never be in a top team. Would never get a chance.
No.
It wouldn't even matter if he was simple. By the way, if he could win you the major playing for you, they would never gamble on him in the way a team Liquid did, and other teams in the past. Like, that's one of the ridiculous things about that. Like, I actually have to say, I'm not going to make some mad side tangent on this one because I don't claim to have looked into it, but like, it is weird how even in the game Swedes do seem to have some incredibly collectivist philosophy. It's like the most important thing is adhering to the group's I like philosophy or the way they want to do things. It's not actually being really good in the game, which is bizarre.
Yeah, and if you think about it, a lot of the talent that was meant to be coming through, that was like lauded. Right, it was it was the Disco Dopplins and guys that are nowhere now, but because they made very good impressions in terms of their personal, attitudes, they were being really promoted.
We all love Discord, don't we, boys? We all do love the Discord. Here we go. Wait, 3, 2, 1. Bang. Oh, he's timed it bang on. You've lagged out again, mate. Discord, of course. Start our sentence again.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. So I'm back now.
Yeah, I just counted you in when I thought it was going to unfreeze, and I got it bang on. So I was just hyping myself up, mate. But yeah, we are right now.
So how many?
We missed about 10 seconds.
All right. So did you hear Disco Dopplin? Did you?
Yeah, we had the start of Disco.
Yeah, right. So talent like Disco Dopplin was being promoted by the elder statesmen of the scene because of his personal attitudes and approaches to the game. And if you ever want to know why, like, Swedish CS has kind of gone, like, hasn't developed and is in the doldrums a little bit right now, it's because of that. Because any explosive and flamboyant talent, as you say, the people that have that spark, well, if unfortunately it comes with some issues, you get fucked. You know, you will not be kept around. So look, we'll move on from Fnatic, who I think have been one of the worst teams at this event outside of the obvious ones in the form of like Spirit and Greyhound.
But let's talk about a level, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing is as well, like, by the way, I'm not going to pretend like I thought Fnatic was going to do bad. I thought they would get through for sure, and I would have probably said they have a chance to go 3-0. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And look, let's talk about a team that isn't that far behind, and it's G2. And I've been super looking forward to talking about.
Well, there's the one G2 thing to look forward to, Richard. One of G2 and Fnatic has to go out tomorrow, so there's some bright news for you.
Well, I mean, that game's going to be like a fucking absolute fucking circus. Like,
well, what I love is that really shows how far CS has come, because you've got all those like major champions playing in that game, and it's like, look at the match you're playing. You're playing the relegation match in the fucking old major qualifier stage. What are you doing, you clowns?
Yeah, well, no, it's got to be a wake-up call, you'd think. I mean, I know...
I've got a piece of info for you might like, actually. I've got a piece of trivia that I was not aware of. I wonder if you are, actually. So I saw, because it's Valentine's Day today, Ocelot bigged up who I assume is either his wife or I know it's the mother of his child, right? And whoever it is on Twitter, I've never actually... I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of us. I assume it's who he was, because he was doing like a Valentine's tweet to her, and I saw a profile. She was like, saying that. When I go to her profile, right, in the bio of her Twitter... she says she's a CSGO fan and she has the French flag. Now, think about all the successful divisions that Ocelot has in his org, right?
Yeah.
And the only one he's just straight fucking up all the time is essentially the only one, logically, his wife gives a fuck about. You can't win, can you? And imagine that, of all the people that are on your back, it's not just the French fans, it's not just the players. You're coming home and your wife's just like, when Ziwu joining the team, I've probably told you it's a nightmare, that contract. Like,
no, it is real bad. But look, let me tell you. So, did you watch all of the G2 games?
I watched them,
yeah. my sympathies.
Yes, indeed,
right?
I did, Richard.
Yeah, they eked out a win over Vegas Squadron to begin. So they took the first.
By the way, Vegas Squadron is not very good at this tournament. It's not the old Vegas Squadron boys.
Yeah, no, not at all. Then it was very easy for Ents, or Ents, I still don't know the correct pronunciation of that, fuck it. It was easy for the Finns, who dominated them 16-6. And then, of course, we started today with G2 losing to a Vanguard, which I called, no doubt in my mind.
By the way, I will tell you, just as an aside, while we discuss this team, I didn't pick G2 in my pick'ems. Like, I didn't even have them as a team that was going to go through. I didn't pick them to go 0-3, which they might do. But like, jokes aside, like, I don't mind people doing it as a joke, but I'm definitely not predicting this G2 to be any good. I think this lineup's actually pretty bad.
No, I think this is even worse than the one they got. Well, I mean, it's
kind of a split on that one. We'll see. Let's give them time, but they're both pretty bad.
I can't handle the things I'm seeing. Right. So first of all, can you think of a time, Duncan, when there was a French team that had a certain player called Shoxy in it, right? And he decided out of the fucking blue that he was not only the in-game leader, but now in some certain situations, the AWPer as well, which I had to witness today. The hubris to take an AWP away from Kenny S. When is it going to end? When is it going to end?
Like, first of all, you're right. The amount of players now who have taken ops from Kenny S, it's always his in-game leader as well. You know, the one fucking job of an in-game leader, if I had to describe it, would be put your other players in positions which are beneficial to them and the team as a result. Not just go. It's like these guys are like Reddit mods where they've only been in for 1 minute and they're like, where's that fucking ban button so I can get abusing this power? It's like the second a French guy becomes an in-game leader, it's like, right, what's the one weapon in theory I shouldn't use and you should use? An AWP. Well, I am in charge now. That's my AWP. And then it's like, brilliant. Yeah, so there's that. And then the other angle is well, when you're that good as a rifler, Why are you picking up the AWP? Because Shox, by the way, even at his peak, he was like an okay AWPer. He was never a great AWPer. You know, he's the guy who just hits like the medium range shot that anyone hits if they have the angle, you know. But he does definitely do that. But he definitely falls in love with it and thinks it's like, because the worst thing is I've seen interviews with him. He's one of those players where this mentality, by the way, is cancer. If you ever see this from a player, I don't care if it's simple or someone that I like, it's fucking cancer. It's where they think that the AWP is a weapon that you buy when you're losing the game to turn the game around.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I hate that mentality is because actually, when you're losing a game and you buy an AWP and you're not even a good AWPer, you will just make yourself lose the game faster. You now have less chances to win the game. It's actually, you've got that completely wrong, the philosophy there.
It's so bizarre because it's like watching. Again, we've hit that impasse. It's just different names this time. But it's the same shit. It's a player deciding to be an in-game leader, but actually not having any tactical nuance at all. I think people are, again, there was a front page Reddit thread about it. I think people are going to realize that once again, things you've been saying, they're not wrong. You know, they're doing force buys. And I said it today on the broadcast. There was a period where G2 were under the cosh against the Vanguard. They bought up SMGs and stacked the site. In other words, the roll of the dice of a team that is out of ideas. If someone tells me to
do that in face it, I go the other side. I go, they're never going to come now. I'll go the other.
yeah, but I mean, it just shows that you're just out of shit. You haven't got anything except can we win a 50-50 and get lucky with inferior weapons and maybe turn it around on that basis. If that is your approach to like being under the cosh from a team that again ostensibly should be inferior to you, your in-game lead is garbage. And it's like Shox is just, it's like Happy left a playbook around when he came over for for a sleepover one night. And fucking he left like Happy secret tactic books, and Shox was like, fucking hell, he's left the magical playbook. He read it all. It's just garbage. It's just
here's the thing. The other part of that obviously as well, Richard, is right. Happy comes back in and goes, "What are you doing? That's my homework." And he goes, "Oh, come on, I haven't done any. Can I just copy some?" And he goes, "Okay, but don't change, change your look. Don't make it look just the same." And he goes, "Yes, of course.
Yeah,
we will
stack B
buy
instead.
SMGs instead of Caesars." Like,
yeah.
Get me out.
Yeah, no. But it's everyone can see this is like some old school approach to the game.
Also, talk about throwing the fucking baby out with the bathwater. You bring existence back in. He's making you try to run the team properly. And then when you go, well, that didn't work. So just delete everything he taught me. Like all the saves, the actual like economy management, map vetoes. Just delete all that. Obviously, everything he did was wrong. We have to go back 3 years.
Yeah. It's wild. And again, just in terms of the fucking team itself, look, Kenny S has had his moments. Shox against the Vanguard did all he could. I mean, he actually looked pretty good, all things considered. But, like...
The rest of the team is fucking bad, mate.
Listen, look, he might have some potential, even if he does look like a generic fucking human. Like, again, me and Sam were saying it, he looks like the fucking generic centre-back out of FIFA if you just set no option.
Mate, him and Body are just unreal, aren't they? It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Are you guys just Ken dolls?
No, but Body is a fucking joke, mate. I'm sorry. I can't... it pains me to watch this. I watched all these G2 games, and some of the things I was doing, the amount of times I saw Jax or Body like get behind people with a flank and then not even get a kill. Like literally, all you've got to fucking do is put bullets in their back, and you can't do it.
By the way, that's one thing that when they made that move, I couldn't handle. Was like, here's the thing, like you say, Lucky's actually new enough to see. Fair enough, give him a go. Why are we literally pretending that 26-year-old Jax, who has never had a fucking sniff at a top team ever in his life, is this player you must have with legendary players who, at the moment, by the way, if things don't go well, are on their last run. This is the end for them if they don't like. They're great enough players that can still turn around, but you've got to do it in this lineup. Like, why are we thinking this guy's going to be good?
Mate, has there ever been a player, because again, I'll defer to your fucking photographic memory. Has there ever been a player who, at the age of 26 in Counter-Strike, got called up to the bigs and then
the only one would be like Oscar or something, wouldn't it? And that was in extenuating circumstances, and that was because he literally couldn't play in 1.6 with the top team and it was only in CSGO. So that's like vaguely like that. But then the point there is, Oscar like had the talent where he would have been picked up if he'd have been in fucking Germany or something, wouldn't he? So even that comparison isn't the same. No, there's definitely not one like that. Like, put it this way, Jax must think he's living the fucking dream of that. Do you remember that movie? I forget the name of it now. That was like a 90s movie with fucking Sean Bean, where he goes from like playing in the fucking park, like semi-pro, to he plays like Sheffield United.
When Saturday comes.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah. And it's where like, because obviously it's like every fucking pleb in the pub's dream, isn't it? Like, I could kick around and they'd see I'm actually got skills, pick me up. It's like, Jax actually had that happen to him. Except the difference is this isn't a fucking movie. So there's no sick third act where he scores all these goals. It just turns out to, what do you know, not be that good a player.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It's mad. It's mad. And again, I can't believe Ocelot signed off on this.
He went from being what he thought he was going to be fucking Susan Boyle. He's just a fucking Boyle on the arse of G2 that needs to get lanced. There we go, not bad. I worked that in at the end there.
No one knows Susan Boyle
Work that in.
Mate, no one knows who Susan Boyle is.
That's the problem. Even that's a dated reference at this point, isn't it?
Mate, she was like on fucking like Britain's Got Talent or something in like the fucking late 90s. You mad?
Late 90s. It wasn't that far long ago. It was like
it's all right. I'm just leaving room for when this
mid-noughties. Then I'll give
when this show gets big enough. I need to leave room so that a couple of other people who people sort of vaguely like in the industry but aren't doing well enough. So off the top of my head, we could pick like Vincent Dust. They could do a side show where they just like, it's like CB, let's say, like the little Big Brother's little brother, where they meta contextually analyze the show that happened, and they'll get all these references and explain them all to the kids. It'll probably happen. I reckon if I had to bet between it not happening and happening, probably happen. Maybe they could even get some washed-up semi-pro cunt like Dick Stacey to come on the show.
Doubt that, mate. No one's going to know who he is by the time they're doing that show. No. But anyway, I mean, fucking hell. What a mess. What a mess. Like, this G2 is garbage, and literally, I don't see it. Like, yeah, the win condition is Shox and Kenny S just going off every game. Both has to be both of them as well. And tactics not mattering. Well, it's better actually. Let me tell you, if you're a G2 fan, it's actually better if G2 do lose to Fnatic and go out, because you don't want to see what's going to happen if they play a real team. You don't want to see it. It'd be awful. I can't even begin to think what Astralis would do to this G2.
It'd be like that fucking the opening exhibition fight of Rocky 4.
What, with Thunder Lips?
No, you're thinking of the Mr.
Rocky 3. I'm thinking of
the one where Apollo Creed just gets.
Where Apollo Creed just gets killed. Yeah, he comes out doing all that fucking shit, like And obviously, the Count of Monte Fisto.
Obviously, they'd all just be going, throw in the towel. And then, listen, I'm not joking. I wouldn't throw in the fucking towel. I'd just go, I'd even do Ivan Drago's line, wouldn't I? If he dies, he dies.
Mate, it's again, the thing is as well, because I think Carlos has been like, following the team closely and stuff. I think like he's got to know. Like,
he must know.
Yeah, he's got to know. Like, enough's enough. Like, I could have told him this, by the way, if you'd ever asked, as could you, Like, if you get involved in French Counter-Strike, be prepared for insanity. Like,
also, think about this, right? The other literal, like, beginner's guide tip I would give him to getting yourself. So you've decided to buy a French CSGO team.
Yeah.
Right, here's a tip for you that everyone who's owned one will corroborate as a brilliant piece of advice. Don't just become friends with one of the players and do whatever he says.
Yeah. It's like, on paper, Shock should be, the ideal guy to align yourself with.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, how it always plays out time and time again is we end up in the same place. Him being an in-game leader when he can't do it. Him wanting to be an AWPer and all things to all men, fill all the gaps in the teams. In the meantime, the entire team's going to fall apart. I understand you had to try and find some new French blood. I don't know, vouched for these fucking players. Like, Body's had enough chances. He's never going to be a tier 1 player. He needs to go on the XMS train, get the fuck out of Dodge, and stop kidding himself. And fucking Jax, like I said, you are right. I mean, the Sean Bean analogy's on point. I bet he can't fucking believe it every time he wakes up. I bet he sleeps in his G2 jersey. Like, please, never let this moment end.
That's why, by the way, anyone who's thinking like, oh, come on, man, he's only just got in the scene. No, I think it's a pretty fair deal. He's shit, so he gets criticised by us, but he does get to play for G2 and get paid a mad salary every month and be in a major. Like, I think he's got a pretty good end of the deal out of it.
Oh yeah. It's like,
and he's just named after a shit Mortal Kombat 2 character. Why am I doing all these references still? I can't help myself, can I? Right, brain. Set your brain to stuff from 2015 onwards.
Right, okay.
There we go.
Okay, let's see. Let's see how long that lasts. I'll tell you what, right, because the pacing of this show's been an absolute fucking mess. So let's just get into the drama.
You mean the way we're like 3 teams in after like an hour?
Yeah, it's not happening, is it, right? We're not getting to the end, mate. And you want to talk about that fucking drama, so let's do it. The drama that Duncan was talking about was literally in the build-up to...
it's like 2 days before, day before, so wasn't it?
Yeah, well, what happened was basically there was a bug in the game, which was apparently has been in the game for a long, long time. I was talking to lots of people.
It's because apparently, this is the detail people don't know. Apparently, I think it only works on 128 tick servers, and all the matchmaking servers are 64 ticks. So the idea is, unless I'm mistaken, none of us could have done this ourselves. It's just pro players can do it, and that's the problem. Is pro players knew about it.
Yeah. So. It's basically an exploit that most pro players have known about, supposedly, where you can bind Zoom on your radar, and if you're looking at somebody and they're sat in a smoke, they'll pop up on the radar. And fair play to Valve, credit to them. As soon as it went, viral, if you want to call it that, they did patch it and fix it. But anyway, what happened was Taco had tweeted about it, and in classic Taco fashion. The tweet itself was.
Here's
brilliant.
the problem with Taco, right? I like the guy. I even said this. That's why I did a tweet trying to say, can we? Maybe we're misunderstanding him, because the problem with Taco is this. First of all, he's actually quite a cool guy if you talk to him one-on-one, and he can be a very warm-hearted guy. He's actually much more social than some of the other Brazilians. But his problem is this: if he was to go to McDonald's and they forgot to give him ketchup, rather than just say, "Can I please have some ketchup?" he would be like, McDonald's doesn't even give Brazilians ketchup because they just fucking biased against us all the time. And besides, what? You just look at me and you say, I don't need ketchup. Like, it's like that's like the tone that he always takes with the tweet. So as a result, it gets everyone's backs up,
Yeah, I've said it before, man. Like, if anybody could benefit from fucking just taking a deep breath and counting to 10 before they tweet something out, it's this motherfucker,
And that's me and Richard saying that. Do you
understand? Exactly. That's coming from us, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, he is outrageous for that. But he is a nice guy. I like him. I've always said good things about his play style and everything else. But yeah, it's bonkers. But anyway, he put this tweet out where he said, "Hey, my lovely ESL. I know it must be late, but I have 2 requests. 1, make hats allowed again." And I think that's fucking brilliant. I just love it.
So he's still on that one. That's never going to end, is it? Like, on his tombstone, it's going to say, like, P.S. Make hats legal.
Mate, it's going to fucking say on his tombstone, like, buried wearing a hat, so he wasn't bald, honest. You know what I mean?
He'll just have it stitched into his skull so that it can never be removed.
It's so ridiculous that he's mad triggering about going bald to that degree. Look, the fucking money you're making, mate. Just get some plugs. No one will fucking say anything. Maybe he's had the plugs, and that's why he wants the hats to come
I
back.
would lose my shit if he came along with one of those really small afros, like Kobe Bryant had back in the day.
Yeah.
I would love it, though, because obviously that's the move you've got to do. If everyone knows you're balding, just say fuck it and go the other way. Like, no, I'm not. I'm sick. What are you talking about? I'm styling. Look, I'm fresh.
Right. Yeah, no, but I remember when Wayne Rooney got his fucking hair transplant, and he was like, he just tweeted about it, didn't he? Because obviously he had a fucking line on his head.
I know. The idea he ever thought that would look reasonable. This is a guy who looked like an old man when he was fucking born.
Straight up, man. Wayne Rooney, like, how was he one of the greatest footballers England ever
produced?
Like,
he's one of those
when
guys
he lost the genetic lottery like that.
I'm not joking. He's the English version of that mad story you showed me with that guy, like, signed for Lazio, or someone is like a 16-year-old kid. Yeah. He's like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah. And he was like, the manager had to come out and say,
he's just so blatantly a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, despite rumours, he is not a 42-year-old player. Mate, I'll just type in Lazio 42.
I think it was Lazio. I think it was some.
No,
it was
mate. Obviously, Lazio.
Look it up, everyone, because this story defies belief.
I'll give it to Sam now. He's called.
You wouldn't even believe it's real. This story. It's unreal.
No, Joseph Manala.
But do you want to know what's mental, right? You want to know what's really mental?
He went to a few teams, did it, didn't he?
Mate, he actually got all his records and had like biological testing and proved he was 17. So Mate, he did.
He really
I swear. He really was. Well,
holy shit! He just looks like
really
he's
was 17. But yeah, but like, no, the best thing was the statement from the gaffer, right? When this story was blowing up. And he said, "I know that he looks like he's an older guy, but he's just had he's had an unbelievable hard life, and he's seen some shit.
It's like a melted candle or something. Fucking
no, it's mad. Like he
looks
17.
like he's like the top left picture of him there, right? Just looks like it's the fucking Madame Tussauds version of him. It's him.
It's wild, isn't it? It's wild, but yeah, he has proven himself to be 17, apparently. So anyway." Back to Taco. Well, shout out to Joseph Manala. He's a good young lad, apparently. But straight up, man, he's gotta just start accepting like he's going bald, like just deal with it. Like you can't sacrifice competitive integrity, like just because you're a bit sensitive about it. Also,
and then he said, no one else even complains. You're the only one in the world that's this mad about the hats.
Oh, I know. It's wild, isn't it? But then, right?
It's like at this point in time, what's next? Like the next bombing, thoughts and prayers go out to the family. And by the way, bring back hats. Like fucking hell, just let it go, man. Let it go.
He will not leave the hats alone, will he? Anyway, look. So and he did bring up the radar back. This entire thread, by the way, is a fucking gold mine. Like it's unreal. We could have done a whole show just about this thread. Because the top reply to Taco's tweet about the radar bind, by the way, is Glaive saying, I don't really understand the thing about the radar bind. Is it just the bind to make the radar more zoomed in? And Taco goes, super funny, you could be a great comedian. Because not only, of course, now in retrospect, when you see some of those smoke kills that happened, does it make it very suspect indeed, but people went and downloaded Glaive's config and he's got the fucking bind!
By the way, I'll ask you an obviously loaded question here to trigger you, Richard. Yeah. As a journalist, doesn't it trigger you that pro players were tweeting for months, speculating what Glaive was doing, when you could go, not even on his, like not on the Astralis site, you can just go on this famous pro site that has all the configs, and he had it in his config the whole time. They never thought to actually look that up.
Well, no, but here's the thing, right? So, I mean, you'd have to know about the existence of the bug, and no journalist did, and no players told anyone about it, but they all knew about themselves.
You know, is there any command I don't recognise?
Yeah, but it's a pretty benign command. I mean, people might want to use the radar to zoom in and out. So I don't think you could have found it without knowing about the existence of the bug. Now, if a player had said to me, "Oh, hey, Richard, there's this bug you can use to see through smokes, and what you do is you bind the zoom in," well, what I might have spent a weekend doing is then I might have gone through every player's configs before announcing it and releasing a video and saying these players have used it, these players haven't. You know, that's what I would have done. But instead, it's like one of these classic things. Listen, whenever there's an exploit or a bug, you know, pro players will be the first to cry about it when it's used against them, but they all hoard that fucking information. All hoard it. They're notorious for
that made me sick, by the way. Here's the thing. I don't mind when fans use the angle that they used famously on Fnatic back in the day when they did the all-off boost of like, you should tell Valve if you have a boost that it's really good. Like, I always said this. As long as the boost doesn't break any rules, why the fuck would I tell Valve about it, you idiot? No, it's a secret boost. It's allowed. So even though I understand why a player, a fan rather, might have that logic, the idea that pro players are coming out now and saying, hey, you should have told the game dev about this, and square brackets, and me, about rather than just use it yourself, that's the equivalent, Richard, because again, you'd have to know the scene to know the point I'm making here. That is the equivalent of when Rix came out and called people out for using slurs online.
I know.
It's like, child, please, let me dig into your past, shall I?
So then JW comes in and says, you know, like, it wouldn't necessarily fix anything. And then they end up having an argument, and Taco deleted some of the tweets. But basically,
his deletes were good. He had a good delete.
Yeah, basically, he like raged at him and said that he was dead to him and all of this stuff.
I'll give you the link up there if you want to see it.
Yeah. Because JW had admitted that he'd used the bind himself. He said, "Oh, actually, I've got it here."
By the way, guys, keep track of what Taco says here, because there's going to be some background on Taco and his teammates coming later for you. You're going to love it if you're Brazilian. Corral. Yeah. Keep going.
Corral, yeah, 7-1 Corral. So yeah, JW said.
It's the way the 7-1 still triggers him now. It's mental.
Oh,
Isn't it?
mad.
There's one thing, like it's like trying to come at me over Poland. It doesn't work, does it? I've actually incorporated that meme into my life, and I wreck you if you do that. Like they're still triggered by the 7-1 and that old guy crying with the World Cup replica or whatever.
But anyway, right? So JW said, yeah, I did. I told the players about the bind. That I knew didn't know about it already. So don't be so salty, dude. I don't even understand your arguments. I was dominating this game before people even realized how to set up a fucking config. You're a board member in the Players Association. Why not start there? To which Taco replied, you're a fucking liar. You have zero ethics. I don't give a shit for what you have done.
Why is he going so hard? Again, and this is coming from me, Richard. Why is he going so hard in the replies?
Count to 10. What you've done in the past, and this topic is dead for me. Cheers, my friend, for us both. JW
I think the way he goes hard as fuck and then ends passive aggressive, like cheers.
Yeah.
Like, you've just told him you don't respect anything about him. The whole thing's dead to him. Like you can't at the end just style it out like anyway though. Cheers. It's like
yeah. And then JW says, call me a liar if you want, disrespect me if you want. You can ask all my previous teammates if I've ever had some special settings or whatever you're accusing me for. Expected more from you, big bad wolf. Right, so obviously that's nice the whole
reference.
little running.
The meme game is fucking on fire. Tell you what, the reference game is incredibly on point with some of these players.
Oh yeah, for sure. So anyway, it goes on and on. And what ended up happening was JW also then alluded to the fact that Taco in his past had used jump binds. Which, of course, were banned from a lot of tournament play.
Which is spicy as fuck,
yeah, which he referred to as illegal aliases in the tweet he made. So in the apology, I've got it here for you, Sam, if you want to bring it up. I've had to scroll through like 500 tweets of verified pro players. He couldn't even sort by verified for some reason. JW said... yeah, he said, I apologize as well if I sounded harsh. I also got mad calling me out because I thought it was hypocritical when you guys played for about a year with the jump script, even though it was banned by tournaments. Which I think Taco declined, and he said that he declined to accept and said, the jump script bind checked in the configs by tournament organizers, and I've never abused it. You can check the configs yourself. And then it was like, hey, let's take this to DMs. So... it was an absolute clusterfuck, this entire thing. What I don't understand is, right, you've got a players' association. If you know about the existence of this bug and you think it's affecting competitive integrity, why not get around the table, bring it up, and then use that voice to go to Valve directly instead of having this weird, unseemly argument in the public domain. Equally as well, I mean, holy shit. Like, if the thing about the jump binds is true, and I'll be honest, I can imagine
hypocritical as fuck.
Oh, I can imagine it being that way. I hope somebody does look into that.
Especially because remember,
referencing to using a 1-key jump bind instead of a 2-key jump bind.
I assume to throw the flashes or something. Yeah, because they took that out where you had to do it like or whatever, didn't you? No, the thing with that is though, Richard, that his is more egregious because remember, with the timeline of when that must have been. Presumably, that was when they were winning fucking tournaments.
Well, of course.
Exactly the same thing everyone's mad about Astralis for now.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, I don't know how much the jump bind, necessarily, again, affects winning the game. But obviously, if you fuck up a smoke or fuck up a flash, it does impact on a round, right? So if you're reliant on using the binds to get the elevation you need for the right trajectory to make those things work, yeah, it's a factor. It's another little tiny factor in success. Now, again, maybe somebody can look into it and find out for sure if that's true or not. But, I mean, there were lots of people, again, talking about that the Brazilian players all had these secret settings. I always dismissed it in the same way I dismissed it about Astralis because I think it's bullshit. To do it. I think, like, at the end of the day, it's a way to sort of distract from the fact that they're that fucking good. And it's just a way to detract from their achievements. But straight up, I mean, this was fucking crazy. This was, like, such a crazy bit of drama ahead of the major. And bizarrely as well, led to a really positive outcome because Valve got involved and fixed it.
What I wanted to bring up, though, the reason why this drama especially triggered me was exactly for one of the main reasons why I actually initially fell out with the Brazilian players and why I grew so much higher from them. Because remember, their fans was different. Their fans is if you just didn't predict their team to win a tournament, you deserve to die and they'll rape your mother to death. That was just fans. So from day one, I already said, right, forget about them. But with the players, one of the things that they got annoyed at is, same with you, is every time they would come out publicly like this and bitch about something, we would either say, that like it's not a very, either your tone's not productive or, you actually point out sometimes like with the hat rule, like you actually complain about something that's nonsense here, like you're just being selfish basically. And the problem is they take it personally every time. They don't take it that you're critiquing the idea, they take it personally, right? And the reason why that has always tilted me, Richard, is because do you remember that classic line? It's one of the greatest memes of all time that Fallen ever produced. When he was at home and that like Northern Arena tournament was going on where, I think it was Northern Arena, where Immortals played Cloud9 and they had to do that restart because one of the Immortals players had his headset slightly off like this or wasn't using the noise. I think it's because he wasn't using the noise cancelling one. One of them had a hat on as well, actually, goes just out of interest. So, and if you remember, famously, Cloud9 didn't get to like, I think, keep this lead they had in there. I think they were 3-0 up in the game. I think the game got reset as though it was 0-0. And famously, Fallen's line, which he was trying to actually compliment Cloud9 with, was like, good on Cloud9, only pussies do anything to win. That was like, if you remember. Now, the problem with that meme is this, Richard. I am not aware, with both public and private information, of any core in the history of CSGO who has literally cheated and broken rules at tournaments more than this core from Brazil. There is not a single one. And as I mentioned on Twitter, I won't claim all the ones I know from behind the scenes, but with my own eyes, I have seen 2 times they have broken tournament rules. One time was at E-League Season 2 when they were playing, I forget who they were playing against, and the rule in E-League, like many tournaments, is during a technical timeout, you do not talk to your teammates, right? Obviously, the producer of the show doesn't necessarily know the rule book inside and out, right? So when the technical timeout happened, when SK Gamer was playing, unsurprisingly, you've got nothing to show, so he's just showing different players, right? He cuts the camera onto Fallen's face, and I watched this motherfucker, by the way, I'm saying that just as like a way to be emphatic, he's a cool guy, but I watched this motherfucker literally talk multiple, just sentences after sentence to like Fur or somebody who sat next to him about the round, clearly. Because remember, in that setting, you're only allowed to talk to the tournament admin. And you're only allowed to talk about the technical problem. He's just telling this guy like what round to do next. He's literally using a technical timeout as a timeout of his own, just getting a free timeout. So there's one time that he literally cheated. And the only reason, by the way, that even got anything done is because I literally told E-League, like, you got to fucking do something about this. Like, you can't have a guy on camera do it. Like, that's egregious. Like, someone at home.
No, but I remember you saying at the time, I want to say it was the Cloud9 game.
It could be, but here's the thing that was so fucked up, though, is that if you remember, the way those rules used to work is he didn't get punished, he got a warning. It's like the same thing. I'll give you the analogy. You know, in the UFC, they very rarely dock a point if you hold onto the cage and don't get taken down. They give you a warning. So if you do that again, I'll dock a point. Now, the reason why that's a stupid approach is because now if I'm in trouble one time in a fight, of course I'm going to grab the cage. I don't get the point taken away. So I may as well do it. Same concept here. Why follow the rules? Just wait till you get the warning, then stop cheating. Second, by the way, anyone thinking that's not cheating, by definition, breaking the rules is cheating, you fucking morons. Second point, in the final of ESL Pro League Season 3, when Luminosity won in the last ever game on D Inferno, the old version, against G2 Esports, who had Shocks and Scream, a classic game, everyone remembers, you can go to, I think it was 9 minutes 25 in the VOD, and at 9 minutes 25,
he's gone
Fallen self-boosts himself onto a pixel walk spot where he is floating above those sandbags that are at the bottom of the banana. Now, he doesn't get a kill. He doesn't change the round. All he does is take damage, but that is an illegal boost. You are not allowed to do that boost for the same reason that you used to be banned for pixel walking in other tournaments. So I have seen these people twice without being punished. This is just the ones with my own eyes cheat. And then they have the goal to start, without even evidence, calling out people, by the way, not even for cheating. It's in the fucking game. You're literally allowed to do that. It was a feature Valve put in the game.
Well, listen, on that classification, with that classification, I don't know if I agree with that classification of it, because I don't like the fact that Valve very swiftly moved it. It was clearly, I think it was clearly a bug. I think. But
it'd been in the game for years. That's the thing. Like,
sure, but it had been assimilated as if it was a feature, but it was clearly a bug. I gotta say that.
No, but here's the difference. Valve made that. The fucking maps were made by other people. Like they didn't intend like pixel walking, by the way, is unintentional. It's where you've accidentally left too much of the texture over the edge, and it turns out someone finds there's one tiny invisible pixel. And so the map didn't make them. It didn't intend that. And in fact, obviously, if I was Valve, I would patch those out immediately, but they don't do that for the maps, bizarrely. But anyway, the point I'm making is this: for a group of people who, whenever they're on Twitter, present themselves as these like the
arbiters of competitive integrity,
and they're always
and
being
the victims,
persecuted, and there's this massive conspiracy. By the way, how could there be a massive conspiracy against this specific team of Brazilians? Yeah, I've just told you, people are watching them cheat and letting them cheat, and they're not getting punished. Now, by the way, I know a lot of players, like I alluded, I didn't say they're the only ones who've done it. There are plenty of players who push the rules. And in fact, if you look at professional sportsmen generally, they will make the referee be the one who stops them doing it. So the concept in sports is you go right up to the line, it's up to the ref to tell you. So I'm not saying, by the way, that they should be like banned or this is agreed. I'm just saying in the context of them being hypocritical enough to cry about everyone else doing shit, come on, man. Come on.
It would have been like Fnatic doing it, like just off the back of what happened with that LDLC game.
Exactly.
You know, if they'd won and then somebody had used something illegal again, deemed to be illegal in the next round against them, had that game been played to a satisfying conclusion, you would have been like, "Come on, man!"
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. No, I get it.
And by the way, on that line there, because I want to make this very key point to any of them who are watching now. Because by the way, some of these people, like some of those players, check stuff out, and see what people are saying. I'll say this: remember the message I gave you at the beginning of this segment. One of your major mistakes is you put something out in the world that is wrong. Someone says who is an expert that's wrong, and then you get butthurt over it. How I wouldn't be attacking you or even calling you out on these if you hadn't called out someone else. So remember, whatever happened to you now was done by your own steam. You made this happen. So if you don't like people calling you out for that, it's a very simple way to stop it, mate. Stop calling other motherfuckers out. Because guess what? As soon as you call someone out, you're fair game. Everything you've done is fair game as well. That's just fair.
Yeah. So that's the drama covered. We can get back into the games. How are we doing for time, by the way, Sam? Have you got a hard out as well?
Nah, I'm fine.
No, I'm fine.
Hour and a half in. Something like
that. Right. Just check. So I suppose we should focus on some of the positives. Well, all right, just before we get into that, let's talk a little bit. There's a couple of teams I think it's worth talking about, and I wouldn't say it's been an entirely positive experience for them at the major. NIP, let's talk about NIP, because we always seem to skirt around NIP. Finally, they've had a long road back. They're back to the major. We all know how much it means to them to be back here and competing, even in this challenger stage. And maybe people's memories are short because it's esports. People don't realize that this was a team that couldn't even get to the fucking minor at one point. You know what I mean? They had real issues. They were right down there, considering this is one of the legendary franchises with the legendary players we've had in the game. Started out great. I mean, I think they were given a bit of a fucking layup in the form of having to play Furia, young team, super nervous, first major, NIP, the old masters. They dominated that game at 16-6, and people got talking about NIP. And then they got Renegades, who we'll talk about in a little bit. I thought NIP were going to win that one. They didn't. They lost. But it's okay, because NIP get to play Windstrike next. Played them on Train.
Another classic veto. His spirit still lives on.
Yeah, exactly. Like the ghost of Exist just hovers over an IP.
It's like you go, guys, thing is, none of you are in-game leaders. How are you going to do the veto? Get right, just goes, don't worry, Exist gave, filled me in on the blueprint before he left.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, we won a major doing this shit.
So they got absolutely battered 16-6. And again, just to let you know on the veto, the map they could have had was Mirage. So
they're fucking. That's the map they beat Astralis on the last major. If anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
Why is this? Why are people like this, mate? Why?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But instead, we'll play Windstrike on their best map, and they got battered 16-6. So look, I wanted to get your thoughts on NIP, even if it's just briefly in passing. Hasn't been a great major for them when you
By the way, as a quick side point, because this is like a point about NIP specifically, exactly what you're talking about with veto, but also it's an abstract point where I actually think I assume just because a lot of pros are much younger than I am and they haven't had they haven't had life experience, they haven't thought things through. You will find, I would say, the majority of pro players have a different mentality to all analysts. So analysts believe when you do the veto, your whole concept is before we even fire a bullet, let's give ourselves the best chance to win this map. That is not what most pro players do. What most pro players do is let's get the map that we are the best at. Do you see the distinction there?
Yeah.
And and the reason why I bring this up is because that, in theory, isn't that egregious a deal. Like, if you're a really good team, you probably still will win. But this is the part that is so fucked up about it. Like, people always think I nitpick way too much when people say, like, cliches, okay? But one of the cliches I hate is the idea of, like, well, I'm not paying attention to the opponent. I'm just trying to play the best game I can. It's like, I always say this. Anyone who thinks that that's wisdom is a moron, because everyone does that. It's just that some people look at what they're doing and the opponent, and therefore have two chances to win the game. Like, the idea that, like, well, if we're really the best, same thing that you said, you know, Richard, if you want to win the tournament, you got to beat the best teams. Yeah, not on their best map, though, you dumb fuck. Like that, these cliches, like, they're all, what's mad about those cliches is you actually have to know a lot to know why the cliche even makes any sense. Like, it doesn't contain all the wisdom in it. Like, if that's really going to be the philosophy, we're always going to have these stupid vetoes. And then the other angle to say, as a very quick point, is a lot of pro players, the reason why they don't do what you're saying and just go and look on hltv.org and see what the last 7 maps that Winstrike played and which teams they beat is because also they put way too much emphasis in 2019 on fucking scrim results. So what's happened, Rich, is I've had teams, I won't name names on this one because it's private, but I've had teams where I've gone to them and said, why didn't you go to map X? You have literally won 6 of your last 7 on it. Yeah, but in scrims we weren't doing very well. Yeah, but the opponent barely plays it. Nah, but in scrims we just weren't confident on it. It's like, the scrim was to practice. The scrim wasn't an indicator of how good you are. Like, if you aren't going to pick the right one there, like, we're just going to be living in a world of madness because we know scrims don't translate to real games like that. So anyway, it's just an aside. But if people are wondering for some insight, like, it's not that players are literally idiots. It's that they just have a totally different philosophy on exactly what we're talking about here. And part of it, unfortunately, is jerry-rigged into their self-esteem of, like, well, if I admit that I should go away from this map I'm good on, then aren't I admitting that the other team's good? It's like, no, it's not about you and your ego. It's about getting the best chance to win the game. Otherwise, you end up it's like I made that analogy before. Like, these guys are like every time fucking Bill Belichick lets the other team have the ball to start the overtime. It's like, why are you doing that? It's the most rigged league of all time for offense. Why? But anyway.
But I want just some thoughts about the team. Then you can keep going, buddy. You're making my fucking job easy when.
The problem with Nip is, like, I even said this again. I'll tie this to what I said when I did my pick'em video. I picked Nip to go through as one of the 8 because they have the quality that they should. But I said this to people. A lot of people with NIP, I think probably because they're legends, have been doing that thing last year where you only look at the high point. So you look at when they beat Astralis. You look at when they are able to go head to head with Astralis. You look at when they're able to almost make top 8 of the major. You look at when they're doing all sorts of shit. You look at when they made, like, I think they made like a final of one of the Blast Pro series. What you don't look at is all the tournaments between that. Because if you look at the tournaments between that, you know who the real Nip is. And the problem with Nip is this: on their day, they can go head to head with almost anyone in the game. The problem is that day comes about 1 out of every 3 days, I'd say. And as a result, on those other days, you know, one of them, they're an okay team, and one of them, they're a pretty bad team, actually. And that's the problem. They also have a mad drop-off. Like, they share something with Fnatic in that sense. Like, the high's good, the drop-off is fucking ridiculous, though. And I think you saw in this major here, like you're saying, like, that win over Furia, I can't even give you much on that one because Furia, they're rookies to the stage. They don't know anything about this shit. Yeah. They never played a team like Nip before. Like, everything's going in your favor.
Yeah, so I don't know what to make of it. I'm going to have to sort of wait and see.
I still think they can make it through.
Yeah, it's not easy, though, because portents and omens, my friend. Obviously, their next game is going to be Vegas Squadron. Now, I agree with you. I'm not even going to waste any time talking about Vegas Squadron. Yeah, it's a best of 3. Sure, it's a best of 3. I'm with you. I'd back NIP in that situation, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I think NIP, I think the loss to Renegades rocked them a little bit. Like, Lekro was kind of absent in that game, and usually he's a very solid Mirage player, which was something I pointed out on stream at the time. So I don't know if there's something, like, I agree with you. It's like, on their day, this should be a breeze. This should be a cakewalk. The caliber of teams that they're losing to, though, makes me wonder if they're going to get another one of those days. Maybe they don't. Maybe tomorrow isn't one of their days, and that's it. So I don't know. I think that's a very spicy game, honestly, with everything on the line against an old enemy. So we'll wait and see. Also wanted to talk about Vitality.
Yes.
Because a lot of people were hyped about Vitality making the major. Obviously, Ziwu, the Starlet.
I saw some people with them as 3-0 as well.
Yeah, that's madness. So let's talk about Vitality's run so far. They got off to a not-so-great start against Tyloo, losing. I mean, this Tyloo, we're definitely spending some time on the podcast talking about them. This is the Chinese, or rather I should say Asian super team. Yeah. This is everything that the Chinese fans would have wanted. It's the best roster we've had in CSGO, undoubtedly, and they're really showing it. But we'll talk about that in a second. They then have an unreal comeback against Greyhound. To put it in context, Greyhound were 13-2 up against Vitality on Nuke. And they just had this unbelievable comeback performance and were able to close it out in overtime. Crazy game. But Vitality breathe easy. Then they go into their game against Vegas Squadron, 16-1. 16-1. They just battered Vegas Squadron. And all the while this has been going on, funnily enough, like Ziwu, he's been good, sure.
He hasn't been the guy he was in those other two tournaments, though.
Well, it was MBK that pulled a fucking career best LAN performance out of his arse. He got the highest HLTV rating he's ever got in this Vegas Squadron game. 23 for 3, 131 ADR and a rating of 2.31. Don't even know where he fucking pulled that from. But what have you made of them? I mean, I'm not convinced still. I think RPK is really off the pace, and it's a shame. I mean, I'll always give time to the big man, but he's not been particularly good in this team. I'm obviously giving Alex time to settle in. It's still a relatively new addition. It still feels like this is Team Ziwu, and he has to go big if they're going to beat real teams, real opposition. I've got them going through but I think things are going to get worse for them as it progresses. But, I don't know. Do you think they can do it?
Well, the irony is that obviously the G2 lineup that has existed corresponding to this one was the team where it's like the win conditions are maybe if these two players go ham, we can win.
Yeah.
Well, what's ridiculous is everyone would have told you, what a stupid system. Vitality would be nothing like that. Vitality is one guy goes off all the time. He had maybe one game he didn't hear, but generally goes off, and then he has to hope someone joins him. So it's either NBK or it's Apex. That's what happens. And if that happens, they have a chance to win. Admittedly, these are all games against low-level opposition. Literally, the best teams that Ziwu has played on LAN is the Mouse Sports, who bombed the major off the top of my head, and then Ghost Gaming. That's it, with a banned player. These are the best teams he's ever played. That's why I told everyone, you jump in the gun. I agree, it looks like he's going to do all this shit, but he hasn't yet. You can't say that. This would be like if someone was owning Division 3 and he scored 70 goals. Right, you know what? He probably could be a Premier League football player. Would he be the best player in the Premier League? Well, that's probably going too far. Right? Let's put a fucking goalie in front of him who knows what he's doing, Then we'll see what he's made of. So, by the way, on the same way I said about Broline, fair play to Ziwu, considering he's a guy who's a young guy, he's never played in a major, he's fucking owning. Great, well done. But this team is a train wreck. They look really bad. And the other thing that I find really disturbing about this team is the demeanor of the players who aren't Ziwu suggests to me that they know that they're in deep shit. The best they can do is sort of passive-aggressive jokes. Someone like Apex, who normally super up a beat if things are going well, doesn't seem to comment much. Obviously, RPK and Happy's never say anything anyway. And Alex is he's just happy to be there, isn't he? He's the fucking... I mean, he's not the Jacksons now because he's actually a decent player, but he's... there's no point in him complaining, is there? At this point in time, the only reason he's here is because they've made this team. So the problem is, when I was picking this team, I picked them as my last team to go through. I did them as my 8th pick 'em. Because for me, it's touch and go as to whether they're going to go through. And so I'm not super shocked at the way it's gone. Obviously, on paper, they're supposed to beat all these teams. It's just that's the problem, is I've seen them even against Tier 2 and Tier 3 teams get played close and actually not look that convincing. So I'm a bit worried about the future of this team because this is now going to be the third LAN that they've played. They've still yet to play any really good teams, and they're not smashing. And this is the thing I always mention, because I always used to say this when it was just Simple going off in Na'Vi. You can't say, oh, well, Simple has to put a 1.30 rating. That's a win condition. That's nobody's win condition. That's like saying fucking Michael Jordan has to score 50 points when like 20 points is a good average in the NBA. That's not a win condition. That's an unreasonable demand of a player. In reality, if ZywOo shouldn't even have to do this and he should be considered a very good player. So if he was having to do all of that just to get you past those teams, that's a bad omen. Because if he ever turns up to one of these tournaments and has a real bad day, you're just going to be straight out, and you're going to have no chance to compete at all. So I won't completely write them off. Still only had a few lands, but it's definitely not like I can't really think of how it could have gone worse almost, except ZywOo not ended up being a good player. I guess he's the one bright spot, right? He has been cash money so far.
Well, we can also talk about it because it's Valentine's Day, so there's something that all of you there might want to keep an eye out for. And it's funny because it plagues a lot of NA Counter-Strike fans, and that is the curse of premature evaluation. On day one, I was having to listen to Cloud9 fans tell me that they were looking good.
There we go.
Right? Cloud9 fans were back, and Cloud9 were back, and it was a dominant performance against Greyhound. Remember, everyone's 0-3 picks if you didn't go for Vici, right? Yeah. And let's talk about that game. They won 16-11, not convincing, and Keo had to almost drop 30, right, to beat Greyhound. Well, they then followed that up with Tyloo. They got battered 16-3, right, with Zelzis getting 3 frags. This is the new boy wonder of NA Counter-Strike. And then you're like, oh, well, it's all right. Don't worry. They've got Vici next. Battered 16-6. So they've had a couple of bad Chineses. I don't know, man. I don't know where the fucking hype about Cloud9 came from day one. I legit don't know.
It's just because of the E-League tournament, isn't it? Like, people did that classic move they do, Richard. Like, this is probably the most... Anyone who's been an analyst or ever been on a desk is going to totally relate to what I say now. The most annoying thing that ever happens in your job is this. A team comes along who on paper shouldn't do well. So you predict that they won't win. And then they upset. They go forward in the tournament. So now they're playing a really good team. So of course you predict won't last. They won't do well. You know what? You won't believe it. They win this game as well. It keeps going until they come. Usually they don't win. They come second or third or top 4. They do like what for them is an incredible run, but is like still way above and beyond. Now, this is the moment where fans go, everything you said was wrong. That team's actually amazing. And in fact, essentially they imply, by the way, your entire concept and worldview of how Counter-Strike works was wrong from day one. Now, here's the reason why it's annoying. Those teams almost every single time regress to the mean, go to the next tournament, don't do as well. The players aren't magical. The honeymoon doesn't last forever. They go right back to normal. Every person who said all that shit to you disappears under a rock and deletes their identity off the internet. You can never find one of these cunts. They don't exist anymore. Mainly because half of them just lie and say they never said it. But, this is what happens, right? And the worst part about that is it happens routinely. So I'll give you a great example. When Big made that run to the final of ESL1 Clone, Thorin, you're an idiot. You said that they weren't even that good. Oh, that's right. They never did anything like that ever again, ever. And then even they broke that fucking lineup up because it wasn't good enough. Like, you just see it happen so many times. Cloud9 wins the major. Stop saying it's a fluke. Go and have a look at those next 4 tournaments I think they played after that, guys. Let me know, was it a fluke? Do you know what a fluke is? Do you know what averages are? Do you know how to make a graph and draw? No, of course you don't. I'll make some sort of political joke there. I won't. Whatever.
Yeah, don't.
It's the way I've actually sort of learned on some level, haven't I? Like, it's the way the sentence
yeah.
All right, son, you've had
learning.
Keep it with CS.
Yeah, you're getting the hang of it, mate. You're getting the hang of it. Hashtag still with her.
Because here's the problem. If you look at Cloud9 as a team, right, yes, they have the talent and the performance at E-League was good enough. Yeah, they probably should make it out of this portion of the tournament. They have the quality to do it. It's not like once you get down to, by the way, to like your 6, 7, 8 pick'ems, you're already picking among flawed teams there anyway. You're not picking great teams. Yes, they have the talent to do it, but the problem is they are like a semi-mixed team without a real in-game leader and a bunch of players from around the fucking world. So if anything, I go the other way. I'm amazed how they did so well at E-League. Props to them. How did they do it? Incredible stuff. That's why I thought Kiyashima should have been the MVP of the tournament. But it's totally logical to me they wouldn't play as well in the other tournaments, of course.
Well, we'll segue into talking about a team that did fucking surprise me, and you know, like while some analysts out there were hyping Cloud9, I know you said on Twitter, I don't know why people are sleeping on this team. I don't know who it was in response to, but Renegades, I had them going out and just, you know, like, oh, it's Renegades at a major, lol.
I didn't say. I think it was someone else did the sleeping on a Renegade. I can't remember who did this. Let me think.
Yeah, but you definitely replied.
What I did was, what happened was, I did in my Pick'em video. I think the reason why I didn't know this myself, because obviously what people forget is I don't know other people's rankings of the teams. I don't consult the Sponge and ask where he ranks Renegade. So when I did my Pick'em, people were just surprised that I put Renegades in my Pick'em very early. Like, I think I picked them like 4th team or something. And I told people, like, they're actually better than people probably realise. Like, the players they've added seem like upgrades even, you know. They've actually got a pretty solid map pool. Kassad's back. He's a good coach. You know, there's like a million reasons as to why actually they're a pretty solid team. And yet, by the way, I definitely didn't expect to go 3-0 and do this.
3-0 is crazy, right? I mean...
And the teams they're playing, look... Because remember this, this is the other thing to say. Remember what I did with Fnatic, where I pointed out that the ELO system makes their result even more egregious. The ELO system is why Renegades had to play NIP, then they had to play ENCE in a best of... Oh no, wait a second, who did they play first? They played a Vanguard, who's no joke, then they played NIP, then they played ENCE. They had a fucking hard run. That's about as hard as you can get in this portion of the tournament.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I mean, they were dominant against the Vanguard. The NIP game, you know, like as I said, Lekro was a big drag factor in that, but Renegades were really fucking polished. And what's super interesting has been actually, like Azza has kind of come back to life. He's the in-game leader. Yeah, exactly. Like it's insane.
Maybe take some notes shocks.
Yeah, it's insane that what actually seemed to bring him back to life. Because remember, he's been underperforming for a while. Azza. What seemed to bring him back to life is actually being put in position as the in-game leader. Now, JKS was very good against ENCE today, by all accounts.
He's generally been a lot better himself, actually, since they made this shift in the team. JKS has been carrying.
And you know, like it's like a lot of people are talking about the new guys that have come in, the Liars and Gratisfaction, who are good. I mean, like, on the stream today, we were talking a lot about how Gratisfaction's got this like really aggressive open style. He's never afraid to fucking peek. He translates that to a game, and when he's on, he can take over a game just by himself. But honestly, I think what's been more important hasn't just been the addition of these two guys, and suddenly they've turned around. You have to understand that like Azza and JKS have both really resurrected their careers at the same time, and while all of that's going on, you've got a very solid guy in Jacob who's been around the fucking block. And as I said, he knows. Like, remember when he signed for Renegades a while back? Initially, it was a 6-month contract.
Yes.
And that was with the bad Renegades. So that was like literally, I think that was the wake-up call to get his fucking head back in the game, because that is his last chance saloon as you're going to get. The old terrible Renegades lineup didn't even want to commit to you. But yeah,
well, I mean, he says last chance. I mean, he could like meet on a cold full moon on the edge of a cliff in a cave where you go around, you knock on the door, you say the secret password, you go in there. Pronax, Makalele, and Pith are all there, and they're like, "You have come to the Brotherhood of the." You know,
welcome to the.
We'll never quit. You know.
Yeah. Welcome to the team of the.
We will now proceed to say the oath. Never a coach, never a nipple, like some shit like that, obviously. Never to reveal what we did in Fnatic with Flush. I mean, whoever. Agent X. Don't worry, he will be joining us soon.
I mean,
I've sent word.
Yeah, I've sent to Raven. But man, yeah, just like really took me by surprise how well Renegades did. Like 3-0 was unthinkable for me. If anybody actually did put them 3-0, I'd love to fucking pick their brains for the reasoning.
Obviously, we don't mean if you're an Australian person, you just did it because you're supporting the boys. You know, we mean it like.
That's round 2 for Discord. It's always good to see. And
you've gone too far with that whole thing, haven't you? Come on.
Discord gone again, of course. So,
yeah, Discord cut out there, but it's all right. It's good. I think people got the gist that you.
He's had a lag.
Yeah.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're back.
All right, we're back. Right.
Anyway,
just saying, Shoeies had played out as fuck.
Yeah. Right. The other team, NRG, they went 3-0. They were my pick. I honestly, and
I had them
again,
as well as my 3-0, yeah.
Yeah, I said, look, there's a reason these guys are top 5 in HLTV. If you followed the progression of this team, you know, they need to be shooting for top 8 at this major, frankly. They're at that position in their evolution right now. They've got a coach that love him or hate him for the things he says. He's very dedicated. Puts a lot of work in behind the scenes. They've got a very well-respected and accomplished in-game leader. They have 2 really good rifling talents. One who was out of this fucking world today against Tyloo. Like, that was a 2-map series, right? And sure, they played almost every round. They played 59 rounds. Breezy got 72 kills. It was mental. But you know, the thing is, they were able to beat this very good Tyloo team, and we're going to talk about in a while, and they did it with Fugly, who I keep saying is a drag factor on this team. Like, unless he's doing some sort of, like, this isn't a Steeko cerebral player, like, doing all these other things, because I know that's the immediate thing people will go, you and Thorin always stuck up for Steeko. You and Thorin went to bat for Steeko. Fugly isn't a Steeko. And I like the crazy thing about NRG is that you could swap Fugly for another player in free agency. You know, I floated the idea maybe Tarek, for example, could join this team, and you know, I sure he might not play Fugly's positions naturally, but I'd rather anybody was playing Fugly's positions at times than Fugly. I mean, I've said that for a long time. So the scary thing is NRG could kick it up a gear. They're already top 5 in the world. But yeah, just really good. You know, clean wins across the board against, you know, the Tyloo game. Within context, is a really good win for them because Tyloo were looking really good. You know, they were dominant against Vici, dominant against Windstrike, which again, within the context of the tournament, these are banana skins that other people have fell up to. Does help, of course, that their coach vetoed intelligently. But what have you made of NRG?
Actually, in general, by the way, I would say that's one thing I'll give credit to NRG for. Actually, they actually are a team who do veto pretty well. They generally they don't have the biggest map pool, but you don't notice it because they veto correctly, and as a result, they're always in with a chance in a series. So the main thing about NRG is I also had them as my 3-0. Like, I picked them as the team I thought would go through, and this is why. I'll give you a little lesson right now in how all of you out there don't know even the basics of analysis. Because what you do when you analyze is you look at all the relevant factors, you tier them all, and then you try and combine as many as you can. Like, right, this one will connect to this one, but this one's not as important as that one. And at the end of it all, like some fucked up equation, your brain tells you who it should be, right? So here's the reason I picked NRG. It's not because NRG is far and away the best team in this field. It's not because like they would beat all the rest of the teams in this field. But remember, they are not ever going to play all the teams in this field. The system for this major means that they were guaranteed going to be one of the top seeds in the tournament. And then with the ELO system, if they kept winning, they would keep playing the worst teams in their round of the tournament. So as a result, all they have to do is beat the worst teams in the 1-0, 2-0, and 3-0 maxes, and they are through 3-0. So what I had to actually ask when I did my 3-0 is, like what you said about Fnatic, which team has the worst basement? Fuck ceiling. Who has the worst basement? Like, who could lose to a Vici Gaming? Who could lose a best of 3 to some team? I mean, in this case, Tyloo, you know. Fnatic could. Cloud9 could. NIP could. NRG wasn't going to. If there's one thing NRG does, as much, like, when we diss NRG, it's because they go this close to being really good and then never make it over. But they do go that close. They'll take care of all these teams in this field when they're playing with the ELO system, the bottom half of the group. Of course, they'll murder these teams. They're a pretty solid team. They've got nice firepower. They've got players who play all the correct roles generally. They've got a good veto. The in-game leader's not an idiot and just calls a proper game. It's a fucking game manager, if I ever saw one, knows exactly what he's doing. Everything's great in this team. So as a result, no surprise to me at all they went 3-0. They're actually, in that sense, for this type of a format, probably the best team to do it.
And yeah, what I'll also add to this is, because I did call them out a little bit for picking Inferno. We were watching the NRG game against Tyloo, picking
that
Inferno
could be a bit more of an up and down one
Tyloo.
for them.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good actually. They've played it, and again, going back over the last 3 months, they've played it 10 times, won it 8. The caliber of the opposition isn't always great. I think some of those wins might have come against, I don't know, like Bravado and stuff, if I remember rightly. But it's a very solid map for them. I didn't realize how solid it was. And then when you consider their overpass is like god tier, they're one of the best overpass teams in the world right now. Maybe picking Inferno was a little bit of kidology. Maybe they looked at Tyloo and felt Tyloo were better on overpass than Inferno. Bentet does typically tend to go off. But the crazy thing is, NRG's overpass is so good, Tyloo respect banned overpass against them. So they've got a great map pool. Their permabans does too. They don't want to play that. But they'll even have a go on Nuke. Not bad on it. They got it. They'll play Train, they'll play Cash, they'll play Mirage. This is like a really, really solid team, and I think they make top 8 at this major and cement what has been one of the great sort of upward trajectories, one of the great stories.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I always say this about this team, but unfortunately, they will never get their due in their era because they lived in the shadow of Team Liquid. That's the problem, because there was another NA team and they did even better and even more consistently. So as a result, I think what will happen with this NRG team is, in a year or two, when you'll have a bunch of NA teams who aren't this good potentially, people will look back and realize what you actually had with NRG, which, bear in mind, there were a bunch of players who none of them had been top.
Yeah.
That's amazing that they did it as a group.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And just on the point with Team Liquid, it'd be great if they played each other when it really mattered, like, say, quarterfinals or something.
That would have a sick storyline, yeah.
Oh, that would be a hell of a series. Because traditionally, NRG has been one of those teams that have been a little bit like Kryptonite to Team Liquid, but not this Team Liquid. This Team Liquid, very different animal. The more and more I'm thinking about it, I retract everything I've said about FaZe and the Nico stewardship. I'm looking at Team Liquid as being, if you had to pick somebody who wasn't Astralis. So, but NRG, maybe they could beat them, man. It's just based on history. So they're a super interesting team right now, NRG. Great to watch. All their games are exciting. I think if they ever want to get to the true next level, so they can be a Team Liquid, Fugly's got to go. But they're still capable of beating top tier teams, even with them in the roster. The other team, then, let's get to them. Tyloo. Man, what a fucking great team to watch. Like I've been saying, the old Tyloo was a great team to watch. Their games were always super fun. They were always doing crazy shit. But now
you notice that you didn't say it's good to watch them win. Mate, they're fun to watch when they lose.
Yeah, it's seriously. Like, I'll say this to anybody. If you haven't got your fucking dose of Tyloo yet, please do it. Like, take the time out this major. Watch a fucking Tyloo game. They are great. And this Tyloo, you're getting the refined, super jacked up yayo shit. Like, this is the best Tyloo you're ever going to see. Since they've added Summer and Attacker, this is like an Asian super team. Now, when you look at the games, you've got Bentet that can fucking go off. You've got Accurate that can go off. You've got Attacker that can go off. You've got fucking Summer that can go off. Somebody, remember last time we saw them, somebody was fucking going off. They just play aggro. They don't really give a fuck. Yeah, they got tactics, but they'll run at you. They will make you fucking play them face to face, all up in your snout. It's fucking great, man. Like I have been loving watching Tyloo, and even more so. And just to talk about the results they've had here. By the way, that NRG Tyloo series, best of 3 so far at the major. Obviously, we haven't had that many. It might change a little bit later, but that is still a great game to watch. But, they were dominant against Vitality, dominant against Cloud9. Like, and they could have eked out a win. The key for me was NRG winning Inferno, and that game was on a knife edge. It could have gone to 3 maps. Had it gone to Train, I had NRG to sneak it, based on everything we said at the start of the show. But seriously, Tyloo, another team. Like, can they get to Legends? I really want them to do it. I really do.
Yeah, the thing with this team is like, as you said, like even the previous Tyloo lineup was a really fun team to watch. But if that Tyloo lineup was cocaine, a bit of cheeky fun, great for a while. Obviously, the come down's not that good because when they would always just immediately lose after they did a great upset, so they never really delivered on it. Then this Tyloo is the fucking refined, cooked crack rock. This is like playing on fucking their favorite map, Overpass. You have to push through the pipe, get that smoke down, and then you're high as a motherfucker.
He's out of control.
And ironically, fentanyl does come from China, doesn't it?
So
time stamp that.
Time stamp all of it. Right, but yeah, straight up, man, like real fun team to watch. Hopefully, more people are going to start.
And by the way, the
key
thing is, like you said, is that they really have made like the super team now. Like in fact, you saw it in this stage. In the past Tyloo, basically, what would happen is Bentet was a stud. Excurate was like surprisingly good considering you thought he was a nobody. Somebody was like a really good impact player, but could be very up and down. The rest of them weren't that good, quite frankly. This Tyloo, man, live, the firepower across the board's ridiculous. And what I love about this team is, like you say, because of the style of play that they play, it's very, very difficult to actually counter that because it's like, what do you do? Just back off when they rush in? Like, no, you're trained to actually think it's bad to play the way they play. So you, in theory, it's the same reason why I think teams could just kept getting upset by Vega Squadron. Because in their brain, they were like, this is what we want. We want you to just rush us like a bunch of noobs for no reason around a corner with like 5 CZs. The problem is they were making it work. The difference is, as you said, Vega Squadron only had that gimmick shit. Tyloo now has the gimmick shit. And they have a half-decent, like, basic default game.
Got that Coach Jonter in as well.
Exactly. I doubt that's a coincidence that they look a load better as well, not just the players. They've got a guy who actually knows his stuff, has a long history in the game. So, yeah, they're a very exciting team. The problem is I'm also in the same boat, though, which is, obviously, I'm pulling so hard to want them to make Legends, but I also don't know whether they are. I think they're, like, on the borderline for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them beating a Vanguard tomorrow in a best
I think they make the next
3.
stage, but like...
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, I thought you meant a Legends spot, like top 8.
No, I do mean a top 8. I do mean a top 8.
I think they'll make the next stage, but whether they'll make the top 8, that's like touch and go, for me.
Yeah, and we'll have to see who they end up playing. But, I mean, look, seriously, there's teams waiting in the next stage that want to fucking swerve Tyloo or they're going to get fucking schooled. These guys are ready. Like, no doubt, man. And it's just great. It's like I say, what we wanted was a strong team in CSGO that the Chinese fans could get behind. Well, man, you fucking got it now, for real. All right, look, we probably missed out a bunch of teams, but we'll wrap it up. We'll start winding down. We have got $100 question, I'm told. Let me dig it.
I posted it again.
This is good. Right. Fair enough. At least there's banter from people who actually pay for our Patreon.
Yeah, no, Reykjavik on Steam is not really a serious question, but it makes a good point. He asks, considering G2's highest win rate for a map is Dust 2, why will Exist pick Dust 2? Right, here's the thing, guys. Like, I don't even know. If he picks Dust 2, there's got to be consequences. There has to be.
It's because you have to understand. I made this point before. The last time I explained this concept, I gave that great anecdote about where Taz and Neo, like Taz was telling them, like, we should pick the map that's their strongest because they'll never expect it. It's like the analogy I'd give now is like Exist clearly grew up just like an absolute weeb watching every fucking anime out there, and Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely one of them. And his whole game plan's like, hi Yugi, I've put my trap card on you. And you see the point I'm making. He's always he's doing that classic move where he always tries to outthink the opponent, right? But what he doesn't understand is, in the modern day, most teams, like, I know I said before they make weird moves, but they generally pick the right maps, right? It's very rare that people veto maps they're strong, and it's very rare that people go away from maps they're good on. So Exist thinks he's doing some weird counters, or he's picking like, or maybe he's using. I'll give him the closest to a benefit of a doubt I can. Is the one upside to letting the opponent pick a map he is strong on is, in theory, if you've decided you're going to do that before the entire veto begins, you could prep that map directly and know the map that you're going to play. That's the only one reason it could ever make sense. The problem is it doesn't really work. You have to be an amazing team. You'd have to be Astralis pretty much to make that work with any consistency. And even then, I'd still say don't do it. So as much as that is a joke, the fact that as a premise it's even a valid joke is an indictment of where we're at with Exist.
Yeah, I know. It's really. I honestly look. If it happens, mate, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll flip my fucking shit, but I won't put it past him. Also, as well, it turns out we have been sort of wrecked a little bit. I almost don't want to put this in the show. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll acknowledge it for the live crew, but we'll probably cut it out of the VOD, right? Because we just waxed lyrical, and I think it's all fair commentary about how NRG veto intelligently. And then someone sent me that tweet by Daps, where apparently he said, I accidentally gave Winstrike the map choice by clicking the wrong button, but we managed to pull through with a 16-9 win. We play our 1-0 match later today. So maybe not that intelligently, but no, the veto build-up to that is fine.
That proves that's the exception. That proves that even when someone fucks up, he vetoes better than Exist.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy pressed the wrong
button. That's how I'm
button.
inclined to.
This guy pressed the wrong button and vetoed better than Exist. At this point in time, it'd be a fucking miracle for a Fnatic. If I'm the other players, I'd like knock his arm while he's doing the veto or something. Maybe he'll click the wrong button and fucking bloody hell! I've picked Mirage now. We're really good on that. Oh, you know, I didn't want to do that.
I really wanted to play just two.
I've been thinking about it all night.
Anyway, so yes. We'll wrap it up there. No doubt we'll do another one of these as the major progresses. We'll try and fit them in as and when and stick to our, patron pledges. If for any reason we fall behind, then we will make it up next month, same as we always do. So shout out to Rivalry, of course. Remember, you can go and do the Thunderdome. Me and Duncan are going to talk about Tina Turner off there. But you can just type in, if you want to get the details, you just do an exclamation point, Thunderdome. Nightbot will tell you the rest. It's completely free to enter. You can win $1,000. Definitely worth your time to do it. So shout out to Rivalry for sponsoring us in that regard. And of course, obviously, our patrons that make the show possible. Our $100 patrons, Jerky's Minion, Botvic, Mikhail, Alex Rangerson, Detlef Insomniac, and Rekovic on Steam, who asked that question. Remember, if you're a $100 patron, you get to ask us a question. Doesn't have to be a joke. We'll take the time. So make sure you take advantage of that. $50 patrons, Manuel Stockley, Sard Sawar, TC Owens, Watch Doge, Carve, Roosty, Nostradamus, Marcus Kjumpar, Madsen, Colin Penny, and Benakagi Assassin. Thanks to all of them. Of course, thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who subscribed, getting the Twitch Primes in the fucking chat. And we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, 4 a.m. for the No Majors Club. Not Duncan, of course, just me. Sad, lonely me.
I'll come eventually.
Yeah. Don't say
That's
that. I'm spending Valentine's Day with you.
I'll come eventually.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had a fucking Duncan problem. There's something in that fucking water, man. We'll see, as I said, 4 a.m. for the No Majors Club. Make sure you tune in. I'll be there even if no one else is. Thanks for watching. We'll see you when we see you. Toodles.